Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fight Night Rising. We are back after a week off, and we're on a new set now. It's set 4 TFT Fates. I'm excited to get into the action, but first, alongside me, we have Boopasaurus. Boop, how have you been the past couple weeks? How have you been enjoying Fates?
Oh man, I think just like everyone else, I am loving Fates so far. We have a whole fight night to talk about how much we love it and what is so great about it. But Khroen, how about you? How are you liking it so far?
Oh man, I'm loving it. It's probably some of the most fun that I've had in a new TFT set. Maybe since set one, early day vibes. I'm absolutely loving this. And excited to see some of these top level competitors get into the action, of course, and they're all competing for some of that prize pool, like we always do
Yeah.
have. Yeah, $200 in total. First place getting $100, second place $50, and third and fourth place will get 25. And as always, the top three will be invited back for next week. Now we also got a nice cast of players here, Boop, to bring us through Fates. Go ahead and introduce some of them.
All right, we got good old Sphinx the boy, TSM Souless, Jingly, Spencer, Barrybadden, Dan TFT, TreeBeard, and Bkrisz. I believe everyone here has been here before, maybe other than Bkrisz, but the name sounds mega familiar to me. So I think these are
Yeah.
eight eight veterans on the new set. We have so many cool storylines because we've got Barrybadden, who was a Rebels one trick on
Yeah.
the last set, broke the 3-week curse. This is his 4th week back, I believe. But we get to see the kind of transition. Something that you mentioned earlier is, are we going to see players that were successful in Galaxy struggle on Fates? And I think Barrybadden is definitely one to look out for that storyline. But Khroen, I think that's a really great question generally. In terms of playstyle, my answer would be to say yes. I'm sure some players are going to be affected by this new set, both positively and negatively.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of like some players struggle just between different metas between sets and throw on a whole new set, and there's a lot of variables that go into that. But yeah, as you said, these are veterans, these are players who have all competed on Fight Night Rising before. So they are used to this competition. Been playing TFT for like 4 sets now. Getting used to the swing of things here. I'm just excited to see how they approach this new set. We have a little bit of established meta, but as we were talking before the show, it's kind of diversified, kind of flopped around a bit, rotated in terms of what things are being prioritized, what's strong. We start off with Talon, and then everyone started playing Ashe, and so it's like, oh, Talon can't kill the brawlers. So where are we landing right now? Maybe it's some jeweled gauntlet Ahris, or we'll have to see what the players bring out here though.
I totally agree with you. I mean, I think over the last just opening weeks of this set, we've seen almost 3 metas pop
Yeah.
up because it was like the Talon abuser. And then I was like, I'm gonna abuse some Talon, and I wasn't winning, and I was like, oh, I'm just behind. Because the meta has shifted a little
Yeah.
bit, and the fact that we don't have a B patch after the opening of a set one, more your god, and
Yeah.
like that's like legendary in terms of game dev. And then two, it means that, yeah, what we've wanted for so long in TFT are fluid metas that kind of change around themselves rather than needing the patch itself to move things along. And I think that's another reason why this feels so damn healthy, because you can win with pretty much anything with the right items, with the right chosen. Yeah, there's set metas like Ash Brawlers and the Ahri,
Yeah.
but the right lobby, the right situation, we might be seeing some crazy stuff upcoming in our couple lobbies here. There are no galaxies. So
Mhm.
there's not going to be that, okay, everyone's going to get an item here. Everyone is forsaken to the same RNG. And I think it might be a good idea to talk about what's a little different here, Khroen, based off of the last set.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, and there's so many good things you just said, and I want to talk about them all. A couple of things I definitely resonated personally with the, oh yeah, forcing Talon. Wait, it's not the meta for it. There was literally, I gotta admit, I was like still, it was early days of climbing. First couple days, I was like in gold, and I went like 8-8, 6-8-8. I literally in a string of 5 games, like trying to play Talon for a lot of them. I'm just like, why isn't this working? Like Talon's like really good. Like, am I just getting up
I
lucky? Like,
know,
what's
right?
happening here?
Items?
The meta had shifted, and I had to be like, why? What is happening here? And then I identified the problem and started climbing again afterwards. But no, it's just I wasn't really anticipating that quick of a meta to be changed as it is in set 4, because it hasn't really in the past 3 sets. And like you said, props to Mortdog for and the rest of the TFT team for making this set, because there is no need for B patch here. I think that things are really in a healthy
Mhm.
spot, healthier than maybe even I and a lot of other players would have anticipated. There's maybe like some slight outliers in terms of strength. Maybe like arguably Set could be nerfed, and a couple like maybe like Dusk or something. But overall, no, this is a wonderful set. And yeah, again, I'm just excited to see
Yeah.
how the players are going to approach it. Like what comps do specific people favor? Because also,
Mhm.
as you said, there's a lot of things that you could win with here, and maybe
Mhm.
players will just be very versatile and not want to go for a specific play style. But we're hopping into game here. I'm so trained to look at like what galaxy run, but there's no
I
more
know, right?
galaxies.
We're in a regular old game of a TFT, and the
So,
big thing here, ladies and gentlemen, is the chosen mechanic. So yeah, there's new champions and stuff, and we'll talk about synergies and classes in just a second. But the big thing is the chosen mechanic here. Is we actually have DuoQueueAbuser. Oh, I love me some DuoQueueAbuser. One of the strongest starters in all of TFT that I've seen. Anyway, back to the point. So chosen, any class, any origin, any champion can be your chosen. Chosen counts as 2 as whatever it's selected, the class or origin, and will automatically be a tier 2 unit. So you'll actually see a lot of 3-star carries within this set, as well as we're taking a
oh
look at
yeah.
Souless to start things off. So for those of you guys at home watching set 4 for the first time, a lot of what we're going to talk about is going to be that chosen mechanic, and when they go ahead and choose their chosen, refund it, try to find another one later. There's an incredible amount of nuance in this set, Khroen.
Oh yeah, I just got kind of like chills. I'm just like, yeah, the chosen mechanic I've already gone over as a player, but as a caster, trying to like break down the people's play
Right?
styles in terms of what chosen they choose to go for, because some people do like to pick an early chosen, win streak with it, sell it around that level 7. I think we usually see, and then
Hmm.
roll for whatever they want their comp to be. But you can even not take a chosen at all and greed out for a better one, because at that level, strength level 4. You can find a 2 cost chosen. Level 5, you can find a or 6, 5 or 6. You can take 3 cost chosen. And then starting at level 7, you get a 4 cost chosen. And if you're at level 7, at that like kind of where everyone starts to pivot and solidify their compositions, if you like quote unquote high roll one of those really strong units like a Riven or an Ashe or even like an Ahri, that's going to be a huge power spike. But not seeing any chosens quite yet here for Soulless, but does have a Nidalee too. And I guess it's a good transition to start talking about some of these new traits and
Hmm.
stuff, Boop.
For
Yeah.
sure. We're seeing Nidalee, which you're going to be seeing in a sharpshooter slash warlord comp. So let's talk about warlords first, because that's probably what we're going to see earlier on.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Warlord is a fun little comp, which means that if you are a Warlord champ, you've got this energy on a line. You will gain stacks for winning your rounds. You do not go back to the beginning if you lose. You keep your stacks, but to be fully powered up, I believe you need to win 5 rounds in a row. As you can see, we only have 2 warlords here, which is why the Nidalee and the Garen do not quite have their little symbol at the bottom, which will signify how many rounds that they have won. And each round, again, is just increased stats to get stronger. However, warlords can fall off in the late game. Cat needs to do something
Yeah.
in the late game to find success. A chosen warlord is definitely something that can carry you through that early game, but can lose you 5-6 rounds in a row once other people come online. What do you think of the warlords? Because we're definitely going to be seeing warlords, duelists, and brawlers here at the beginning.
Yeah, early game, I think Warlord is a solid synergy, maybe not quite as good as Cultist, as I'm sure we're going to see some players play, but giving that stacking HP and spell power, it is going to be really strong early. Personally, I like Nidalee with a couple of sharpshooters early. Maybe only until like stage 3 or something, though, she kind of starts to fall off, but early on, those spears do a lot of damage. We see Souless here. Only having the 2 of them is going to lose this round, so even if he
Yeah.
had 3, wouldn't have got too much value there, but I believe they still do stack up during the PvE rounds. It'll
Hmm.
count towards
Hmm.
the victories there. Has not
Yeah.
been changed yet, at least. So yeah, Soul's taking that loss there though. Does have a couple of vanguards. Vanguards are returning synergy, gives armor to those frontliners. And yeah, I said Nidalee being the sharpshooter. Sharpshooter actually is a comp that I wasn't really thinking about, but is viable and with like a Jinx or a Jhin carry later on. Nidalee is not going to be a huge carry. People stopped rerolling Nidalee
Yeah,
a
and do
while
not get
ago.
baited into that
Yeah.
Vayne carry either, because you want to. You really want Vayne to carry, and there are just better carries,
Yeah.
a little later on. However, she is good, if you build some attack speed on her, in the early game. It's just you can't
True.
gonna be seeing this team go up against some duelists. We've already got a Giant Slayer on that Yasuo. Yasuo already known as a pretty strong unit in this game so far, as Bkrisz is going to be taking down Souless there. DuoQueueAbuser, expected to not lose here at the beginning. You will definitely see DuoQueueAbuser play some pretty strong early game comps, then fall off a little later, hopefully securing a top 4. I believe got back 3 weeks with that strategy.
Yep.
But yeah, now that we've seen some Vanguards, which I actually learned from you, my friend, I popped into a stream of yours like a day or 2 after the patch, and I saw you playing 6 Vanguards, and I was like, no, let's not do this. And I did it, and I gained like 3 divisions as we as we
Yep.
are gonna be going over to Sphinx, who is gonna be doing that brawler start. Definitely some set 1, set 2 feelings with the brawler start. TK, Sir Thomas, definitely one of the better early game units in the game.
Oh yeah, so tanky. There was even kind of like that unkillable Tom Kench build that people were going. Get him to tier 3, he mitigates so much damage. I think it's 75 damage he mitigates for every attack.
Mhm.
Being a brawler gives a bunch of HP, and then slap tanky items on. And he has a chain vest right now, which, in talking about items, man, Sunfire Cape, really good item.
Good
S
item.
tier, even S plus tier, something that
Yeah.
you will always see slammed in the early game. It's good early, it's good mid, it's good late. Being able to spread that damage reduction, or that damage over time with the healing reduction, every 1 second, to, I believe it's a unit within 2 hexes of the wearer of that Sunfire Cape. So super strong there. Might
Mhm.
see Sphinx go for that belt to complete that here, perhaps. He is 3rd pick on the carousel. DuoQueueAbuser still at 100 HP, as expected.
It is not it's actually pretty surprising to see Sunfire Cape so strong, especially in the early game
Yeah.
as well, against people like Hecarim, against people like Sir Thomas, which is Tom Kench. The biggest thing there is just like I don't Red Buff was a little bit later game, and I remember them saying that they never really liked how Red Buff worked, in terms of how they made the set. Sunfire Cape, though, is one of those things which is like you have the item, you get this thing. And
Mhm.
it took Ionic Spark a really long time for me to feel good about that. And so we'll see how it feels when it comes to Sunfire Cape. Just such a good item. Giant Slayer is the other one that you want to talk about. And in terms of really strong items,
Yeah.
especially on someone like Kaisa, which we can go ahead and talk a little bit more about duelists in this sense, and see where he's going to be going with who's going to be his auto attacking carry here, maybe in the backline.
Yeah, so Sphinx getting these brawlers early does make me lean towards the fact that he wants an Ashe later on. You can have a Phelios be an item carrier kind of early. Even we do actually see some people start to go with Phelios now with Spirit. People are starting to prioritize, Ahri and Spirits a lot more. I'm
Mhm.
sure we'll see some of that at some point. But right now, just has the Callista as the item carrier. Ooh, that Katarina though, those I believe has Cultist and Warlords from Treebeard there. Going to be on that win streak, keeping that going. Sphinx, though, dropping to 88.
Interesting pack. He's got enough money to change whatever, like, he can change into an Elderworth comp if he wants to right now. He's at
Yeah,
100 HP in all tier 1 units. He's there pretty much by the items, right? So, in this situation, this is why the chosen mechanic is really, really cool. He probably won't pick this Elderwood up, but
yeah,
you can definitely make the argument to let that happen, as we're going to be seeing keepers, another really good early game if you can get it,
yeah,
synergy to help your team just have a little bit more to give at
yeah.
the end of a round.
Keeper Cultist, something that I was talking about earlier. It's really, really strong early game. Once your team loses 50% health, boom, you see off the top ropes there, Galio slam down into the largest concentration of enemies and just start wailing away. Like his auto attack damage is kind of insane. We saw the keepers there with Elise and Jarvan as well. And yeah, Galio's gonna win this 1v2 unless anything crazy happens. But no,
No
guy's gonna take out
spin
that Garen.
to wins here today, as our tier 1 only comp on the Beard is going is
What a
going
shock here.
I know, right? That's what I was thinking about. So
Yeah.
Elise, sometimes you go on these things, you're gonna talk, wax poetic, and then all of a sudden you see a bunch of stars in a in a pack, and you're like, why not me?
Yeah.
However, I played a game, a Warlord game, where I think I tier 3'd 5 of the units by like 4-2.
Wow.
So it can
Jeez.
happen to me. And I do have a witness for that game, which is great. It's like when you catch something and you're like, did
Mhm.
anyone see? That's how I felt with that game. Is 40 gold here. So let's talk about econ a little bit. How are people
Oh, yeah.
working with econ in this particular meta so far? Because there really isn't a quote unquote meta. Again, there are things that are on the polls, things that are really bad, and things that are pretty good. But in terms of econ, how are players approaching this set?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things, right? First being you will on average get more gold early on for the first initial PV rounds than you would in the previous set there. You're going to be able to econ to get up to 50 usually on average faster. It is more expensive to level 8 and 9, so much so, and with the addition of the chosen mechanic, that players are opting not to go to, level 8 on that, 4-3 like we saw before, but people are
Hmm.
choosing to spend a lot more gold at level 7. Econ until that point is pretty similar though, but that's kind of where most of the gold is spent until people are able to save up until maybe 5-1, around 5-1 or so to go to 8. And sometimes if you're high rolling, you still can go fast 9 or something. That still is possible, but just not as common, I suppose we
Hmm.
usually see.
I've actually been seeing people roll mega aggressively, especially later on, like 2-0 gold, a couple times. I remember a lot of people having a weird time. I forget who it was, but it might have been Socks, might have been, um, it could have been someone else, but they're like, this is weird rolling to 0, right? Like,
Yeah.
this feels anti what I'm supposed to do. But for a player like me, maybe that's why I've been finding so much success in this set. I've been enjoying it. But someone who is finding success is DuoQueueAbuser and TreeBeard. TreeBeard did just lose out on that last round, but he also is using the best little legend to ever be made, which is Chonk. So there it is. It's DuoQueueAbuser,
Oh yeah.
100 HP. We said Duelist could be a strong start. Actually gets the chosen Yasuo there.
Yep. I think Chosen Yasuo is probably the second best one cost chosen unit. I think the other one being Elise, because even if you get Cultist or Keeper, both of those are pretty strong early. Yasuo, though, can be a huge carry, and he can even carry longer than you would usually expect. You could see a Yasuo carry me even up to like stage 4, and you can preserve a full win streak, which we are seeing DuoQueueAbuser do at least now. But like, look at the synergies he has in, right? Like 3 Cultists, 2 Assassin, 2 Duelist, 2 Keeper, a whole bunch of good stuff going on here for him to continue his win streak. And it looks like he will do just that into Treebeard here. Like, you got a Galio, I do too. And guess what? I have a better carry with the form that's Yasuo. He is slamming a lot of items though. The Ionic slam surprises me. Don't usually see that nowadays. The Hodge is fine. I think it's an item that's generally good on a lot of different units, but yeah, again, that Ionic Spark, maybe it's good for him to be win streaking with and be 100 HP, so I guess that's worth it.
All right, we're looking at Barrybadden sitting in second place, almost surprisingly. We mentioned this a little earlier. He was a Rebel One trick,
Yeah.
which is how he was able, I think, to help himself get to his 4th week back here on Fight Night Rising. Is going to go ahead and pass on that Ahri. We might see Ahri a little bit later. I forget who posted it. It was Tej maybe that posted a Spirit comp that people started abusing. That Spirit has gotten pretty popular. But Barrybadden, I'm very happy to see that he's been able to find something that he might be able to omni this comp. And a brawler comp is going to be something that will find you pretty consistent results, not in
Yeah.
like the 1-2 area, but from like the 6 to like 3rd area is where I would probably find this in a competitive atmosphere the most, as we do actually have an Ahri on Spencer's side, our returning champion.
Yep, that we do. This Ahri the Rageblade stack, it's kind of popping off at this point. Should be sending all
How
of
cool is
those
that ultimate, by the
spirit
way?
bombs out there. Oh, aesthetically, it looks so good.
I know.
Oh, actually,
Oh
does not get that
no.
cast off though,
Yeah,
but
that Galio did not.
Galio.
Ooh, that Galio did not like that. Ahri did not want to see that spirit bomb. But I just love the fact that Mort and the team have gotten away of it has to be in the game proper, and they just
Yeah.
made a new ultimate for Ahri. My theory is that that's what the ultimate's going to look like for Wild Rift. Is my theory,
Ooh,
but opposed to that, like
maybe.
it'd be sick to see like Fiora's old ultimate, which would be a great TFT ultimate,
Oh
which
yeah.
was Blade Dance. She would go in and out and attack people based on HP, and so they're bringing up old champs with Ao Shin, right? Like that was a
True.
canceled champ that they're putting in to TFT. So like it's so cool how they're able to use like the mythos of League of Legends from beta and bring them over to here and see what could happen. But
Yeah. Maybe in set 5, Fiora will not be a one-cost unit with Riposte, and she'll actually do something.
it's such a good one cost unit ability, though. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
she's like kind of the staple of like, all right, Fiora, she's consistent. You know what she does here. She's gonna repose. She's gonna be okay. You're gonna fit her into some comps, and that's kind of gonna be that. She's never like the carry, but it
One
happens
day,
here. One
you
day.
can, she dreams of being the carry one
Yeah.
day, and then we get to the Rift, and she gets to do exactly that as DuoQueueAbuser finds their first loss. Definitely take a look at the top side of that leaderboard, because usually when this starts happening for DuoQ, it doesn't really stop.
Yeah.
And this is pretty early on, but the lobby has really separated itself, not very consistent at all. Which I think really just goes to show how new this set still is. We're finally seeing some anti-healing now. The Sunfire Cape did make it on to Sir Thomas. Double Jewel Gauntlet on that
Yep.
Nidalee. That's probably going to go on Ahri a little later as you see the Yumi and the Kindred on the bench.
Yeah, I'm actually not right now, but I'm curious to check out Souless kind of maybe on round 4-1 after the Wolves to see that roll down, because Souless, we talked about the discrepancy of HP. Souless is on the lower end of that, only being I guess quote unquote beat out by Chris there at the bottom, 48 HP. Kind of low, kind of concerning perhaps, but obviously level 7 you hit and everything just kind of goes well at that point. There's even okay from the scouting that Barrybadden did onto Chris. I actually like the direction that he's going a lot. Had a Jin, had an Ahri, and a Riven. But all of those are very, very good 4-cost units to be able to carry. And also had a Spat as well. And making a Dust Spat to get up to that 6 Dusk is, as long as you get a Riven too at 6 Dusk, it's kind of like a probable top 4 there when you get all
Mhm.
of that online. But gonna be looking at Barrybadden versus Sphinx here. Sphinx having the chosen Silas there. I think it's just a chosen brawler though, as he has 3 moonlights in right now, with Aphelios
Mhm.
being the item holder.
Aphelios absolutely needs attack speed though, in order
Yep.
to get him into the late game, and you're seeing just how awful Aphelios is
Look at
without attack speed, man. I could literally solve world hunger in between each auto attack, I think, for Aphelios, and so, um, but I think that's okay because he scales with attack speed so well.
Yeah.
Um, but that's gonna be hard for Sphinx, especially if, was his chosen a Moonlight, or was he just
I
going
believe it was
standard?
chosen Silas Brawler, because They were playing Filio, Silas, and Lissandra to get that Moonlight in there.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's right.
yeah, with the
So
Chosen, it would count for 2 Moonlight, of course, and it would only need 2
mhm.
of those in there.
Interesting.
So
I wonder
yeah.
how that Moonlight comp is gonna stack up a little bit later. There are the other thing I really like about this set is that there are like pretty well defined early game and late game compositions, in
Yep.
my opinion. You can reach, for example, for those dusk comps a little bit later, as a lot of those units are higher cost, outside of the Thresh and the Vein. But I think in general, like the opening is not just protectors and vanguards, right? You can open with a bunch of different situations. You could have sharpshooter opening and do the damage thing. You could have an all brawler opening. You can fit in mystics earlier than you ever could before. So there are so many options and opportunities to create a play style for yourself that I hope that players are starting to like understand that they have a lot more vacancy over the result of these games than they think they had in Galaxies, where they were so strangled by some of the Galaxy choices. Here, it's based off of how they play the game, right? As the Dust
Mhm.
Spat goes onto that
Ah,
Janna, who is a very strong unit. Especially
yeah.
if they're able to spam those shields. Because remember, those shields are also providing AD.
Yep. No, that is really good. Isn't gonna it could be super effective in terms of the AD that it gives in this composition. Kindred mostly has match damage, but it's still nice to have that little bit of extra bonus there, as it looks like Barrybadden will be able to take out DuoQueueAbuser there. But DuoQueueAbuser seems pretty okay with taking some losses there, as we know HP is a resource. DuoQueueAbuser is level 7 with 50 gold. Maybe is gonna go some sort of fast 8. And yeah, we're checking out Soulless's board here. Okay, Souless did find an Ahri to put the double jeweled gauntlet in there. Has a vest actually. So the build that a lot of people go with Ahri is just double jeweled gauntlet plus GA. GA in case you're randomly gonna get one shot by something, but Ahri does still cast her Spirit Bomb while she is in that GA state and reviving. And if you get that one ultimate off a double jeweled gauntlet, oh man, does it do so much damage there. Um, yeah, it's just so insane, and it looks like Solis is going the Vanguard Mystic variation of the Ahri composition. It's one that people initially started playing. There have been other variants of the Ahri Spirit composition, like sharpshooters, like Aphelios. I think there's probably one other. Oh yeah, with Zed actually as well. People with Zed shade people play that, but Solis going to the initial tried and true Vanguard Mystic Ahri. Oh damn,
Oh, then that's what
yep,
we're talking about.
there it is.
That one ultimate is all that the soul is needed in order to pull this out. Thank goodness he found that Ahri because I'm allergic to Ahri when it comes to this game. I cannot. I've just stopped playing it because I'm not going to find it. And of course, now that I've said that, I see Ahri all the time. But the the big thing here is that like you just saw how much work that Ahri put in as a tier 1 unit. Not necessary for that Ahri to be tier 2 until a little bit later, especially if you have the GA at the ready, because sometimes all you need is that one ultimate. And what you're seeing Solus do is scout out the other parts of the lobby so you can position his RE to spear bomb the biggest clump as possible. And we are not meaning when we say spear bomb, it's the actual title
Yeah.
of the ultimate that RE has, which is another reason why I love more in the rest of the team because we got like a mothership in the last set. We've got spear bomb in this set. It's such a good design.
It is. It really, really is. And we saw a tier 3 Zeta actually scouting there. But yeah, this game is just infected with Aris right now. There's going to be Ahri versus Ahri here, Solus versus Spencer. And Spencer, the cast does go off because of the Shojin, but the one on Solus' side will be a lot more effective. It is kind of looking like a Riven diff, though. That's 3 really good items on Spencer's Riven there, and it's going to help in cleaning up the rest of that composition.
A piece of trivia is Riven is exactly the same
Yep.
from last set. I believe in terms of numbers as well. And it's funny because people are actually building her differently, where it was like so AP focused a little
Yeah.
earlier, where we're building her a little bit beefier in this set. Seems
Mhm.
to be because you have dusk, so you don't need the items as
Yeah.
much. Is the reasoning why you're seeing this? Is we also see Kane on Bkrish's side, and something that we've talked about is Kane, good unit. Um,
Yep.
tell the people out here why that Kane is gonna be scary here pretty soon.
Oh man, all right. So Kane, functionality wise, after participating in 3 combats, it's is like his singular synergy there is tormented can transform into red or blue Kayn. Red to give some lifesteal, blue to give more damage. Usually we see people go red Kayn. So how do okay, so his ultimate is Reaping Slash, and so he has like a very low mana bar. I think it's like 50, and he'll go just like slashing around. He also has a what's it called, like a mana reaver effect on his ultimate too, so has a little utility there, but he'll be slashing around the enemy team, doing a whole bunch of damage there. And he's shade as well, so it'll
Mhm,
instantly teleport into the back line, won't actually be under so much threat. Can, after every third
mhm.
auto attack with shade in there, go invisible and stealth, so a little bit of extra utility there. But being a 5 cost unit, the damage numbers really are what carries him. And actually, Bkrisz is opting to put the Dusk Spat on this Kayn as opposed to Jhin, which we do traditionally see a lot of Dusk Spats on. See if it ends up working out for him, because Chris is very low here.
Ooh.
But oh man, look at that damage there in the back line.
We were
Yeah.
talking about the Ahri a little earlier, but yeah, Jeweled Gauntlet, a lot of crit slash percent
Oh,
health stuff has been pretty strong. Is
wait.
this
Riven
Ahri?
could do this. Oh my
Okay,
god.
Riven did it. Good unit. I mean, it's a moderately fast tier 2 Riven, so no items though. That's the surprising thing. Just good old regular Dusk to help with that shield. And we do finally have that Ross transformation available. I believe Ross is just one of them. But the other thing to talk about Kayn is the Reaping Slash will repeat itself if it only hits one unit. So if Kayn is the last one alive, you're going to lose
Yeah.
that fight, as he will ult over and over again. But now for Bkrisz, I think his win condition is at that tier 2 Kayn. You're going to see him, you know, pull out these victories. That was really, really close. But until he gets that tier 2 Kayn, he doesn't win, in my opinion, especially at 25 HP.
Yeah, probably is going to save up to go to level 8. Wants to find a Lilia and put that Vayne in for that 6 Dusk. Because as you were saying a bit earlier, with terms of Riven, we see tanky items in the Riven now because Dusk makes up for the AP that you would generally need before.
Oh.
And oh man, that Kayn. Yeah, if Kayn hits only a singular unit, it'll cast the ultimate again. Oh man, it's so strong here. Look at that. It's doing like it's solo carrying basically right now
Yeah.
for Chris, and that's kind of, I guess, why the Dusk Spat was given to Kayn there, because with Dusk, how it functions is with 2 Dusk, it'll give 20% ability power to the whole team. But with 4 Dusk, it increases not only the everyone, but it'll increase specifically the Dusk units amount of AP that they have. So anyone wielding that Dusk Spat will have those benefits. Chris, though, while there is a 2-win streak here, is still 25 HP, tied with Souless. So we'll see if it's going to be a
Mhm.
roll down angle here, or a level up angle, and it might be a level up, I would assume.
Yeah, these are like Master Yi vibes I'm getting right now in terms of, all right, we're at 25 HP. We still
Yeah,
haven't hit our E3 yet, right? Like we got to get to rolling.
pretty much.
And we aren't
Okay.
quite there for Chris, as a Morello's is actually
Ooh,
going to be really nice. And you actually see that Chris also does not have a chosen yet.
yeah.
So now that we're here at level 8, we could potentially unlock some legendary chosens, which is a bait most of the time. But the big thing here is that he still has some power to gain. So knowing now that he doesn't have the chosen at the ready, which you can tell by that little link on the bottom right of your screen above the pack
Yeah.
next to the lock bar to see if someone has a chosen or not, means that he does have some power to grow. So this isn't even his final form.
No, it is not. Interesting, actually not choosing to pick up the shade chosen. Oh man, what was it? Evelyn, yeah. So not needing shade, just saying Kane's just gonna be a solo carry there. That Ahri Spirit Bomb was so much damage, but Kane is still alive right now, and with the Warmogs, he's just gonna be so tanky. I think he's gonna be able to clean up this fight. Oh, another Spirit Bomb though, it's gonna be close.
Okay, one more spirit bomb might be all that
Uh,
Ahri needs. Gets it off and does find the victory. Good ultimate, that spirit bomb. Good itemization as well. Remember, spirits also provide attack speed after they ult, and based off of their mana. And Ahri takes a lot of mana to
yeah.
finally get to her ult. So when she's able to get that spirit proc off, everyone gets mega strong. You didn't really see it on that one because she was the only one alive pretty quickly, but that's all that they needed. As look
Oh,
at this DuoQueueAbuser sitting at 31 HP, right? It's fast starter. You got to finish stronger, man. And now we're seeing Bkrisz, who seems to be upgrading to 5 Dusk now because of that Vayne. And now we've got Sharpshooter, which is going to help that Jhin moved the Giant Slayer over to the Riven.
Yeah, interesting. I guess needed to sell one more unit there, as to buy the Shen chosen there, but with the two sharpshooter and not having giant slayer on the Jhin, it's very interesting there. But either way, Souless versus Chris here. I don't think it was gonna fall because oh man, this fight's just so close.
Is it?
We're gonna get to one hit though.
Yeah, this time a tier 2 Ahri I think is necessary to defeat this Kayn, as Souless will drop to 5 HP on a 5-game losing streak playing 4 Mystic, 4 Vanguard, and the Ahri is in the front line here.
Mhm.
Explain to the people why this isn't as ridiculous as it looks.
Yeah, I think kind of the only bad thing here is that it's only a tier 1 Ahri, unfortunately, for Solos isn't able to hit the tier 2. A lot of people do put Ahri in the front line because, well, she'll generate enough mana to get a cast off and get that early spirit buff to your team, giving all of them the attack speed that the spirit buff does do. And she'll still cast during the GA animation when she's rezzing. So a lot of early damage. You'll basically only need Ahri to cast once in a fight, and as long as that cast is good versus the clump there, it'll be pretty solid. It is only RE1 though, so Solis is opting to move it a little bit to the
Ooh,
back
that's a rough
lines.
ult.
And the GA actually gets popped before the cast comes out, and Kayn just cleans it up. This is going to be a fast 8th here from Solis, unfortunately. Hits the surrender button as
Oh,
well. Gets on out of there
no.
real quick.
Yeah, he doesn't even need to look at those stats. He probably knows what happened there. As we're finally getting to our legendary units across the board now, as Souless does fall 7 HP now for Bkrisz, who has been holding on by the skin of his cane, and TreeBeard still in first place. It's been a while since we've seen TreeBeard drop. Barrybadden in second, Sphinx boy in third, but as separated as the lobby was just 4 or 5 rounds ago, we've definitely tightened up. TreeBeard a little bit further ahead, but everyone else still pretty even after that. So if Bkrisz is able to find this, tier 2 Cade and potentially play spoiler, may sneak into that top 4.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty hard for the tier 2 Kayn to be found though. Bkrisz is on 0 gold. Oh, actually did have one locked in the shop. So one step closer doing that is gonna roll. Ooh, actually finds the Lilia. So I think this is going to now be a 6 dusk. And yes, it is. The Jhin, if it was Jhin 2, might be left in there, but it's only a Jhin 1, so it's okay to take that out. Isn't going to have cultist here anyway.
Still no
Selling
chosen.
selling everything actually. Blue buff is great for this Riven though. Blue buff is one of those good items. If you're not gonna have a tanky item on her, blue buff to make sure that she will cast. It fills her mana back to full because it only has 20 mana, so she'll be casting kind of after every single one immediately.
And what that does is it creates a little bit of an off tank situation when it comes to Riven, is since she'll
Yeah.
start with the shield, she has more HP to start with, as that Zed almost actually gets taken down from that Giant Slayer. But tier 3 Zed versus tier
Oh.
1 Kayn, it's going to be the Kayn that falls, and Bkrisz will not see what happens when a Kayn comes through on when he gets tier 2, but Bkrisz will have to wait until next round, finishing in 7th place, as we're now looking at Jingly,
Yes.
at 8, looks like 28 HP here, as DuoQueueAbuser, Spencer, and Jingly seem to be fighting for this 4th place spot, looking at each other's comps and stuff right now. Jingly 2 games in a row on that win, but we'll see what happens here, Khroen. What are you looking up for Jingly right now?
Yeah, I think Jingle's in a really good spot here. This tier 3 Zed has triple near perfect items. Some will even say perfect items. QSS being super strong, but we saw the damage it did last fight in the back line. It's just gonna be eliminating everything. The Shin just goes goodbye. We'll have a tough time getting through the Riven perhaps though, but Set coming in to try to assist Shade. So if Ahri gets an ulti off, that'll be buffing up the Zed's attack speed so much, and he has Rage Blade there, so it just keeps on going. By the time the fight is nearing its end, Zed is probably like 2-3 attack speed. It's pretty insane.
Ooh, Rage Blade for TreeBeard. His Chonk seems pretty happy about that. Remember, Chonk is the best little legend. I will not accept any other arguments because y'all are wrong. As we are looking up, this one's going to be an Ionic Spark for somebody, but Jingly
Yeah.
himself is going to get a Gargoyle Stone Plate, which is an item that I think is mostly seen on people like Sir Thomas Kench.
Yep.
But for this particular comp, where do you see it going?
It honestly probably will just go on the Ahri because Ahri is kind of that quote unquote front liner. It may go on Set. Set's always a solid unit there. But we'll check out wherever that ended up later on. Looking at
Mhm.
Spencer's in the roll down here is one hit from dying. Has a Warmugs off of that last that last PvE round. But if we look at his board, has not a tier 2 Riven, no tier 2 Cassiopeia, no Chosen actually either. Does sell the Cassiopeia to put that chosen Janet in there. And actually doesn't even have 4 Dusk now. I don't know even know if I like that swap there from Spencer's, but it's going okay, actually, no, right. Still had 2 Cassiopeias in there. And Cassiopeia has a good ulti there to start things off.
Cass is one of those ults that will do everything or nothing in a fight. I don't know how many times the Aatrox Cass combo has gotten me, pulled my backline into an ultimate before. So you can think about that. But in terms of Spencer, it's not going to last much longer as that transition was more of like a last ditch effort more than anything.
Yeah.
And now we're getting into some of those
Mm.
traditional comps, and that Nunu be scary. My, my
That is
friends,
a
remember,
chosen brawler Nunu. Wow,
yeah,
look how much HP he has.
Nunu will just straight up eat whoever he has more HP than, which is, I think, everybody. There are some
Mhm.
really funny videos of Nunus eating Gallios out there that I highly recommend. It's also moderately off-putting to see him eat an entire body at once. Um, but yeah, Nunu's a really fun unit in that way in terms of the fantasy of the game. I think they did a really good job on him. Let's see how much work this
Oh,
Nunu
man.
is about to do. Is the backline going to be protected by that locket? But the Nunu needs to get to that ultimate, one of the slowest charging ults in the game. But is going to be able to get their first one off, I think, on a Sand Soldier first. But this Ashe is also really, really strong. Gets another eat, and Treebeard will fall as Sphinx now on that win streak, setting himself up for a top 2 finish.
Oh, Barrybadden actually was looking so good earlier, but 2 huge losses there means that we now have our top 4 rounded out. The 6th Dusk of Barrybadden was barely not good enough to reach that top 4. But man, the end of that fight there for Sphinx looked so funny. The Set, going to the corner to do some sit-ups, coming back all pumped up, and Nunu's like, "Nope, I'm just gonna consume your whole entire being," and that's gonna be the fight.
Yeah,
That's
he even tastes their souls at that point, you know what I mean? And like their spirit in this world. I don't know. Maybe the question really is which champ tastes the best. We can ask Nunu. As Sphinx is in a very, very strong position. Six
yes.
brawler, especially with that chosen Nunu who's gonna have extra stats, which helps him with that HP. And again, will eat anyone with lower HP than him. And if not, it's true damage. So even if he doesn't eat them, it's still good amount of damage, but it's going to be Nunu against the world. And right now, he's hungry, doesn't actually eat with that GA, and can actually, there's some shade interactions with Nunu's eat. That's a little weird. So if
Yeah.
Nunu eats someone on their third shade attack, that shade attack will actually supersede Nunu's eat, and you could still win that round.
Yeah, that
Um,
Shade is super annoying to deal with there. We saw even the Ashe was like, "Oh, I can turn on to focus the Zed. Oh, Shade, where'd he go? Just kidding, I'm gonna retarget." And Zed just keeps on willing on the back line, so super annoying for anything to actually
yeah,
deal with.
a whole class of set 3 veins, right? We knew how frustrating that was, and they're like, "You know what? This is a pretty good mechanic. Let's give it to 4 other people."
Yep.
And I think it actually works really well here. There's some frustrating things like that Nunu interaction that I think can be cleaned up, but overall, it feels really good as like a synergy type of situation, right? And for those of you guys who don't know what Shade is I think every third attack, it's just like what Vayne did on last set. They turn invisible, so they lose aggro. And that's another reason why you saw that Zed take down that Riven a little earlier too.
Yeah, I'm interested in the reason behind Sphinx's positioning here, especially versus a shade composition, because usually we would see Ashe in the corner and literally everything else just like surrounding it. That is bad into a set, so I think this positioning is good into this matchup. So I guess that's why maybe he didn't move that. Oh, actually, Set is going to not go down there, but is forced to do push-ups pretty early on. It's kind of just Ashe versus the world right now. See
Oh,
if
which,
she'll
you know,
defuse it.
Ashe can take down the world here,
Yeah.
a lot, and I think will
Oh,
actually is that enough to get Set?
that's
Yeah, Set comes back with the true damage,
oh,
but
gets force shotted, I
gets force
guess.
shot. That's the second time we've seen Set do that. Which is come back in, get ready to go, dies immediately. As DuoQueueAbuser dies that round, enough of a lead, I guess, at the beginning of the game, stabilized there at the late game. That's what I wanted to see from DuoQueueAbuser, and we'll finish in the money in 4th place, but TreeBeard at 30, Jingly at 7, and Sphinx at 3.
Yeah, Sphinx. There's not really too much that Sphinx can do with the gold right now, unless you press press reroll once and hit like a Z or two, or two zeros in that next roll. But it's just gonna try to position well enough into. I mean, it could be either matchup actually. Could be Treebeard or Jingly's comp, but it is going to be Jingly with that Shade Z. See if he's able to take him out.
Quicksilver might be his saving grace. The new looks like he's going to be ignoring that Zed um, for the time being. Actually, the Zed is going to fall. Gets brought back because of that Zillion.
Yeah.
And that's going to be enough, it looks like, as Jingly should be able to take down Sphinx. Sphinx will get 3rd place, and Jingly stabilizing at 7 HP. 4 wins in a row. Hextech Gunblade, not an awful item, especially in the late game, just to give your item carrier just a little bit more moxie, but
Yeah.
TreeBeard's the one that they're looking at 30 HP.
Jingly's comp is so strong right now. Like this is the late game, like the perfect late game that you want with this composition. Has 4 spirit, 4 mystic, 3 shade. Shade chosen could even opt to have 4 shade if you wanted to find an Evelyn, but doesn't think it's necessary. And I think I agree that 4 Mystic and 4 Spirit is going to be better, especially versus I believe Treebeard has a lot of magic damage, has some Dusk in there. Finds an Evelyn though, so we're gonna see there. Yeah, yeah. Treebeard has 4 Dusk. See the roll down
Oh,
happen right now. Actually, trying to find what an
Riven
Ahri
3.
3. Yeah, it actually made another Lilia too, and ended up selling that though. The roll down happens.
Oh,
It finds a Zir 2. Just sells the extra Riven 2. Why not, right? Like.
yeah, the dream is not going to be realized. We might see the RE3 depending on how
Yeah.
long this goes, because TreeBeard could lose maybe 2 rounds.
Yeah.
So it's the dream is still alive, my friends. But this should be very revealing on how this goes. Will Jingly just get eliminated, or will TreeBeard be able to come back? And it doesn't look like it's doing some good stuff for TreeBeard right now, as Jingly is going to take him down. 1 round remaining. We need 2 Aries. It's not going to happen.
No.
And TreeBeard is actually looking like he
Really,
might
yeah.
lose this round
Needs to sell the
because of
Aries.
that.
Yeah, needs to sell the Aries to try to find a Zillion. It's not. Oh, okay,
Mm.
finds it, but can't
Worst case
actually buy
scenario.
it, unfortunately. Yeah. That is unlucky. It's gonna be irrelevant. You're not gonna want to sell anything on your board. Can the Dusk composition beat the Shades right now? Jingly's composition looks so strong here. This will be the last fight of game number 1.
The battle of the night. We've got Shade versus oh wait, Dusk is morning. Um, that was almost really good. Anyway, Treebeard, I'm just gonna own it. I don't know time apparently. This Zed is gonna be raining hell off in the back corner. Actually falls pretty
Oh,
quickly. Is that going to be the answer? Oh my goodness, this Hand of Justice might be the difference between a 2nd place and a 1st place. The ultimates are going off. The Hand of Justice is keeping this Kane alive, but the Riven ultimate is going to take him down as Treebeard is
oh
going
man.
to win. And thanks to, like you say from his chat, that positioning was actually a huge deal, especially getting that Zed out of the way so early.
Oh man, yeah, that Zed dying, it actually just seals the deal there for that matchup. Great identification from Treebeard there to get the reposition that he needed. The Kayn nearly was doing that was like an enemy battle right there between that Kayn and like the Riven at the end. That like actually was so cool, but Riven reigning triumphant in that battle, and TreeBeard is going to be our game #1 winner. TreeBeard being a previous Fight Night victor as well, a very, very strong player, has been grinding a bunch, so, nice to see that he has, gotten enough, practice with this set to really come out here and with a strong start.
We've got Jingly, who is a returning player from last week at 8 points, Sphinx at 7, DuoQueueAbuser 6, Barrybadden 4, Spencer 3, Chris 2, and Souless rounding out the top 8.
Yeah, I mean, talking about how the fact that this is a stacked lobby, and I'm like, oh man, like Solis, like 1 point, but like these are all really strong players, so someone has to be eighth, right? But we still have three
Mhm.
games left to go, so it is still anyone's game. Of course, these top three, Treebeard, Jingly, Sphinx, all played a mighty fine game there. Is there anything that stood out to you, Boop, in terms, I don't know, just like anything? It's our first game of set four fates. Anything you
So
want to talk about after that game?
yeah, actually, super easy for me on this one was how they use their chosens. We talked about the nuance of when to use your chosen. If you're going to wait until a late game to find it, we actually, I believe, had two different scenarios there at the end. As we had a couple players waiting until the very, very end. We had one get eliminated because they just didn't have a chosen early enough. But also, we saw someone else wait for their chosen and find some success. And that's the thing about this chosen mechanic. There is no tried or true, if you do A, then B happens. Like I think there was a lot of in Galaxies. Here, if you do A, then B could happen, I think
Yeah.
is a better way of saying it. And you always have to be wondering if this chosen that you have right now is the right one, right? Is that chosen that you're going to give your soul to until the end of the game? And the way that they work that in from the early game to the late game and how multiple players didn't have chosens when we had a top 5. That was the thing that I think popped out at me the most is that you don't necessarily need they might have had a chosen early on, but you don't necessarily need it to top 4.
Yeah.
You can make it there, slam your chosen and get your top 2.
Oh, exactly. Just like you were saying there, it's so fascinating to see how the players approach that and how multiple different play styles can work out. Sometimes, I mean, oh man, I found myself personally in a decent amount of scenarios where I'm trying to play one specific or like two specific comps, and I'm at like level 7 rolling, and I'm like, all right, I need a chosen right now. I'm just rolling, and I don't have a chosen, and I'm like, okay, can I find one, please? Can I find one that I want, that I need? And sometimes it really just doesn't work out. So like you have to determine how greedy can I be in order to wait for the chosen that I want, because you could, high roll, quote unquote, get the one that you need pretty early on. But if you don't, you have to account for that. You can't always rely on getting the exact chosen that you do want. So you have to take that into account during your play. Something else, yeah, actually, that I wanted to touch upon was just like the compositions there. We saw one dust comp get eliminated pretty early. We saw one, make it to the end and end up winning there. Treebeard, I think, played really, really well and was able to go level 9 and just get a bunch of 5 cost legendary units. Because I don't know about you, Boop, but I think legendaries in this set are so cool and so strong. Like they
I
are
know.
just actually so amazing.
I think it's telling that you went with cool first. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's and I think that's what legendary units should be. You shouldn't
Yeah.
have a legendary unit that's like, okay, right, like they're
No, definitely.
legendary. They have to be legendary, and I truly believe every single legendary unit in this game is pretty freaking awesome. In a sense that like sometimes you hear ah, and then you just see a character just fly off the map. Right, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Right, and that kind of fantasy, I think, can bring you to even a people comp a little later, where you just run a
Mhm.
bunch of high cost units and that
Yeah.
synergize a little bit later on. Again, it can be a lot harder now. There's no bard, but you can do it. But yeah, the different comps, I think it's going to be very similar moving on forward here, where, in the last set we had, we're going to have a Rebels player in the top 4, most likely. Someone's going to go for Yi 3. We didn't see a Viger 3 attempt at all in that particular lobby, which we didn't even really see a ton of Elderwood. We got to see the Ash Brawlers, but yeah, there's still things that are good that we haven't necessarily seen just yet either, as we get into our next lobby here shortly.
Yeah, okay. So talking about Elderwoods and comps like that we haven't seen, I think players are gravitating and trying to be one step ahead of what the meta is and what the strong things
Mm.
are. And so I think while traditionally, you can win with Elderwood, like, you can win with any kind of comp here, depending on what chosen you roll and how well you play it. But players are still kind of going towards what those traditional strong things are. Dusk and Brawler and like Shade, Spirit being some of those solidified ones. I'd be really curious to actually see someone win with a non-traditional comp, and I'd be kind of interested in like breaking down what choices they made throughout the whole game and what led them to get to that specific composition. Because as always, we're talking about during the set, you can make that work out here. But we'll be getting into game number two, TreeBeard, zooming in so we can see all that high res Maokai there.
Well, he's the
Doing his
tree.
things. Yeah,
He is his representative. Like with
true,
Chonk
true,
and
true.
Maokai on the field, I think we got everything right for Treebeard. As we're gonna be, these are just starts, just like in a lot of other TFT sets. The starts can be very fluid unless someone commits to a chosen. You'll definitely see at least chosens get taken pretty early. You said it's so weird to hear the sentence. You know who's a good unit, just in general, elite, because I feel like she's the
Yeah.
strongest iteration she's ever been.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I I put a gargoyle stone plate, a sunfire, and I think a random third item on her for a game that I played just to warm up for this, and man, still so good, like so tanky. It was a keeper chosen
Oh yeah.
and got me third place pretty
Mhm.
much just by off of her tankiness. And so now that we've had those opportunities to make a little bit more like kind of hardcore choices at the early game are available, but you do not have to make them. If you
Yeah.
do, that's more of a risk than I think not taking the chosen earlier on. That's just me personally.
Yeah.
If like you don't already have an idea of what you're doing first.
Oh, definitely. I like to be able to win streak early with a chosen, sell it later on into the game, and have HP. While you can lose a lot and still be okay, HP is a resource. There's gonna be so many comps later on that you might get countered by because, again, going back to the thing that so many comps can be viable here. Treebeard, though, opting to pick up those cultists immediately upon seeing them in the shop as cult. Oh, actually, okay. Treebeard's pre-leveling to level 4 here to get a better chance of getting a chosen or just rolling, into 2 or 3 cost units. Doesn't hit one there, but I know that that is something that Treebeard likes to do that almost nobody else does is pre-level to 4 on 2-1.
Well, tell us why. Why? What are the pros and cons here? Because I'm
Yeah.
particularly interested to hear that from you too, Crowan.
So, okay, so yeah, I mentioned briefly, but yeah, pros about pre-leveling. If you have the gold to on 4-1, or on 2-1 rather, 4-2-1 is going to be you're gonna have a higher chance to roll or a chance to roll a 2 cost chosen. And if you roll like, I don't know, let's say like a Z shade chosen there, that's gonna be super strong. You're gonna be win streaking most likely. It also gives you a chance to roll 3 cost units. 3 cost gives you a chance to roll a Callista, which is another cultist. So we could have had 3 cultists in this round. It does. The cons are that you're going to be committing to leveling early. So if you're not going to be win or loss streaking, if you kind of go win loss, it's a little awkward there. Um, you are less likely to roll 1 cost units. So if you're trying to, hit a pair or something of the sort, like that TF pair is going to be more difficult to hit. But I personally like it with not having found a chosen that he wants to go with yet because of the chance of finding that 2 cost chosen.
We did. Whoever he faced that last round did have an Elise chosen,
Yep.
so it was good. We got to go full circle on just one fight, and you're seeing the pre level in both of the packs that he just had. Unfortunately, neither pack had anything he needed. They would be amazing packs for maybe another player at
Yeah.
this time. So if like you get like a money orb early on and you have the means to try this, I say give it a shot.
Yep.
Because there are definitely some players who want to get
Mhm.
to the late game a little bit faster. And this is that's definitely a way to do it because you can hit your pre-level and then start econing if you want. And so it gives you a little bit more flexibility on again, you want to make the choice, you don't want the game to make the choice for you. And I think that definitely helps out in this situation as Treebeard
Yeah.
has righted the ship.
Okay, actually choosing to buy that Aphelios pair there, interesting because he is going up against Chris, who has a few Moonlights in there, and actually already had chosen to slam that GA and put the cloak on Aphelios. And to me, that it's very telling of the fact that I think Chris is kind of almost committing to that Aphelios right now. The I think best in slot build that you can have for Aphelios right now is Guardian's Angel, Quicksilver, and Rageblade, because what happens when you get to your late game composition is you have 4 Spirit and you have 3 Moonlight, and 3 Moonlight, of course, buffs up one of your units into be star tier higher, so you can get that tier 4 Aphelios. The Ahri's in the front line, cast your Spirit Bomb, and because she has so much mana, the amount of attack speed that Spirit will make the Aphelios just start popping off right now. Like talk about last game, Aphelios early game looks so sad to watch. He had like does nothing, but man,
Yeah.
once you get to that tier 4 late game and have that Spirit buffing him up, like it's so good.
And again, I know it's weird to hear Ahri frontlining, but it's the fastest way
Yeah.
to get for ultimate, especially with a GA. So we're not joking, friends. Ahri is and can be a frontliner. Just think about it in terms of a resource gathering situation, because you only need the one ult. Don't be selfish. Right? That's the thing about TFT. I'm
Yeah,
a very selfish player. I want to see 18 spirit bombs, right? But that sometimes is not the way to win. You only need the one.
yeah,
As we're looking over at Souless, who has a sick little legend. Uh,
yeah, no, that's
some
really
I mean,
cool.
all of these new ones are pretty sick. But Souless having a much different start than the last one, as he was pretty much on the bottom side of this leaderboard the entirety of this first lobby. But our TSM representative
Yep.
right now is at the top. So this is exactly what I want to see from Souless, and how we move forward from here is going to be really interesting, as he already has 5 cultists, and that's definitely going to help in the early game.
Oh yeah, definitely. Man, if he pre-leveled there and rolled an Aatrox, it would be interesting 'cause he'd already actually have 6 cultists, which he wouldn't lose around at stage 2 with 6 cultists. There's no world where that would happen. But regardless, Solus being like, hey, I need to start win streaking. I don't want last game to happen again. He
Hmm.
did choose to slam that QSS there, which QSS, if you're gonna build a defensive item for your carry, it's most likely going to be QSS in this set. There's just so much more CC with every single one of the units right now. And while there is not Blitzcrank, there are still Aatrox who will pull the furthest units away. And Pull actually pulls 2 of the furthest units in the way, so it's kind of like a double Blitzcrank effect there. We'll be going up against Barrybadden, who is also on 100 HP though. But Barrybadden's Elise does have a Sunfire being a super powerful item, and I think will lead to the win here. So strong start from Solus, but not quite strong enough.
Yeah, a little bit better from Barrybadden, running something again very very similar. Has a couple cultists in Indeed. As we look over at Barrybadden, 3 cultists. One is the Chosen, which is going to be Chosen Elisa. It looks like 2 Chosen Elisas on the board right now. Sharpshooter and a keeper. Keeper. Can you have 2 Chosen Elisas? Is that a thing?
Yeah, you can have,
Okay.
oh man, well, okay, a couple things. Yeah, you can have, multiple people can have the same chosen unit, but Sphinx actually already has a Yasuo 3 before the Krugs. Actually, on 2.6 has that. So he is going to be committing, it looks like, to a duelist, to a reroll duelist. I say reroll duelist, but you already have your Yasuo 3, so you don't need to reroll anymore. You can just and go like level 8, find the Yone and have that double exile buff in there for the lifesteal.
Okay, I gotta ask Sphinx about this later, because he's still at 21 gold. So it looks like he might have naturally hit
Yeah, he did.
this this Yasuo 3. The game literally gave it to him. And this Yasuo 3, just like we talked about Cultist a little earlier, is someone who can 1v3 carry. But this Sunfire Cape, though, might change that. This is a little bit more of a struggle than I anticipated, but is going to be able to take TreeBeard down. We are going to definitely see some items be put on that Yasuo here soon. But a tier 3 unit at 2.6, I think this is good to talk about the reroll mechanic that has changed. If you guys aren't aware, you can't, if you don't pick any one in a pack, if you re-roll, no one from that previous pack will appear in your next pack. So it is technically easier to 3-star your units, and you're going to see some 3-starred units very early in your solo queue games if you haven't already,
Mhm.
especially for people who are compulsive rollers. It's almost like really bad, like rewarding bad behavior. a little bit because it's like, oh, I just hit 3 tier 1, one
Yeah.
cost tier 3s at 3-4, which is a possibility with the new rules, but they will fall off outside of this Yasuo, in my opinion.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, starting off this day of casts that we will see a lot more 3-starred units than before. Part of it is because of that shop change, but another part of it is also because of the chosen mechanic. A chosen gives you a free 2-star version, or not free, but it gives you a 2-star version of that unit. And you can find, say you already have 3 Yasuos, boom, you can find chosen and you're up to 6 Yasuos. So that happened
Hmm.
to Sphinx and is very, very close or not
Oh,
very
that
close here
is.
to get it, but
I believe that is what happened because we saw his board a little earlier and he had 2 Yasuos on the board. So I think the
yep.
chosen was the last Yasuo he picked up, which is almost best case scenario.
Mhm.
There where again, he made the decision to go this way. The game definitely helped, pat him along
Yeah.
with his packs, but Sphinx is now committed in my opinion. So it looks like we've got a Moonlight composition out there, something we didn't really see a ton of on that last lobby. Souless is still running the same exact comp. Not really, it hasn't really changed from last time. Barrybadden the only one to be able to take him down though.
Yeah, I think Solas will most definitely fall here, though this Yasuo is going to be so, so good. Want to take a moment to talk about the Yasuo build there, actually, because I am slightly concerned for Sphinx here. While this Yasuo is so dominant and so strong now, I think that not being able to have both the IE and the QSS is concerning. I think you need QSS on the Yasuo because the fights that he participates in are so fast. He's going to get built-in lifesteal later on when you pair him with Yone to get that 2 exile buff. I believe it's 80% lifesteal at that point. And I think you need the IE for damage. And the Titan's Resolve to that stacks up so quickly with in conjunction with the IE, and it makes him tankier when he does stack that fully up. So the Hodge is kind of an awkward item a little bit, I guess. It's good right now and it's good early to slam, and it's a part of the reason why he's win streaked all this far. But well, the choice we'll have to see what Sphinx decides between IE and QSS. We saw him hovering both those items to put them on the Yasuo, but decided, I'm just gonna wait and kind of see what I get.
Yeah, and the Titan's Resolve is a really good way to, if you're having a hard time finishing off units, especially here in the early game, the Titan's Resolve can be what you need to make it happen. And I had a
Oh,
friend do, what was he doing? It was doing like Diana Titans Resolve with Moonlight build, with Jeweled Gauntlet. So every orb on the tier 4 Diana crit and gave Titans Resolve stacks. So
yeah.
it can definitely work on non-traditional people that you don't normally put it on. But here I think its intent is this is going to be a beefier Yasuo than what you might normally expect. It's not going to be like QSS defensive dodge base. This is going to be, I'm beefy. Like I rolled lifesteal plus Titan's Resolve. So the IE I think would be a better choice here. So every single auto attack is going to be a stack on that Titan's Resolve. Or we might see him sell this Yasuo later. You never know. But with as many duelists on the field, this Yasuo is here to stay, at least for the time being.
Yeah, I think Sphinx will commit to, I mean, you already have rolled Yasuo through. Yasuo is a comp that can actually win games with the duelist pairing, so I think Sphinx will stick with this. He did actually end up losing the last round because of Yasuo getting CC'd and then fourth shot by Jin and taken out quickly after. So it's not immortal, but man, are we seeing the need for a QSS here as the Jinx stuns him too. I think Yasuo still win this round, but it's getting to be pretty close at this point.
Oh, yeah, it's getting to be pretty close. And just saying, if Titan's Resolve wasn't there, Yasuo dies there.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
so Titan's Resolve at least will gift you. I think this is a really great way to think about it. That item combination that you have on Yasuo will gift you an extra like 2 to 4 extra rounds of victory because you saw how close both of those
Mhm.
were. If you're able to win streak and that'll help you out, then it works. If not, there's like Sphinx had to reset his econ there in terms of win streaking. That sucks. That's like not very great for you,
Yeah.
especially when you're committing so hard in terms of items and what your carry is. So think about it in terms of that. Will these extra kind of rounds right now equal more rounds later? We don't know yet. But as of right now, that's kind of like the world we're living in is these rounds that you barely are winning might give you enough money to 3-star something else a little later. As we're back on Souless and we're
Okay.
building some tank items on Ribbon, Sunfire Cape, and
Yeah.
Ionic Spark.
I like this. I like the Riven with the cultists. You can transition out of cultists later because while they are really strong early, they do usually fall off when we get to the end game. But then you're gonna be transitioning to those dusks, and we see the dusk actually on the bench already for Souless here. The Riven pair, the Cassiopeia, and the couple of Veins. You sometimes can go both. Actually, you can go like 4 dusk, 4 cultists. Sometimes see if you have items for both the Riven and the Jhin. Jhin gets the sharpshooter buff from Vayne there, and he's just a huge carry there. But from Spencer with this Ashe, gonna be pretty good there, but not strong enough to go toe to toe with that 6 cultist Galio. Didn't quite mention it yet, I guess, but yeah, the Galio will get stronger every tier of that synergy there, the 3, 6, and the 9. Didn't see any 9 cultists yet, but maybe we will at the over sometime today. It's huge.
It could be this particular group, as we already have 2 cultist chosens in
Yeah.
the lobby, so we could definitely see it. It's really funny when you see 2 9 cultists together because it will inevitably just end with the Gallios
Yep, pretty
um,
much. Unless
hitting
one
each
combo's,
other.
like, so much stronger than the other, but
Yeah.
yeah, he sometimes end up with the Galio, and it's so funny, actually.
Yeah, and I love the this is our version of mech. It's kind of like cultists, like the special unit, coming in onto the field. Asol Singed, I think, would fall under the same thing. But yeah, and the best thing about it is when they like come out, they come out at the beginning of the round and just kind of chill, and they're like, "All right, you need our help," and they salute, and then they fall right in, right. But one team inevitably is worshiping Galio harder than the other. And right now, that's going to be Souless with a 6 cultist versus DuoQueueAbuser's 3.
More cultists summon bigger Galio, more worshippers there, and we saw the difference between 3 and 6, cultists there in that fight. Galio slam from, whoever Solis was facing hit, like, 1 or 2 units, but the one from Solis hit, like, 4 units, and the AoE damage knock-up, and then just the extra, the spell that it casts, the kinda, like, taunt and AoE damage there, it's just really, really strong, which is why we see Solis win streaking up until Wolves here, won the last 3
Mhm.
rounds kinda because of that after finding the Rivens and everything. Riven build, she has Sunfire Ionic right now, pretty solid. Going for more Dust later, probably just gonna have one more Tinky item there. And yeah, Solus is looking pretty good at this point.
Cultist Keeper, great early game. Especially if you're able to luck into like a cannon for like an AoE ult, if you're into that,
Yeah,
to help you out to go along with your Elise. Jarvan is probably the one you see most often. Will appear sooner with that 2 cost, but a cannon can be put in here and then swapped out a little bit later. But we're going to be seeing this composition transition into Dusk using that Riven as kind of like that jumping off point. As we
yeah.
also see the cast in this Aatrox Cassiopeia ult combo is maddening when it succeeds. You'll see the Aatrox pull in and then the cast, I believe, ult almost at the exact same time, which I believe is intentional when it comes to these 2 units. I wonder if we're going to see it here.
Yeah, we very well may. Aatrox gonna take some damage to the front line, so he casts, and then cast was a little late here, but
A little late, but a lot late to the party. But you see the kind of the synergy there that could happen, right?
yeah.
Once if you get the positioning there correctly, like that combo will destroy whoever's in your back line. Because you forgot that Blitzcrank is kind of in the game with Aatrox, and Aatrox is probably one of like, in my opinion, the easiest units to not see on a board.
Yeah, I
Right?
agree.
When you look at a board, it's like you look past Aatrox, you gotta do, like, the magic eye thing, to see him because you just assume he's Pike. That's at least what I do.
Yeah.
Um, but the Aatrox is so strong also with Vanguard. He's gonna be a good mini tank, in the front line, and all you need is that one ultimate to make that back line, vulnerable, and that's always been such a hard thing when it comes to TFT is how do I get to those backline carries? Well, you can play it on Aatrox and see if that works out for you.
Yeah, very much so. We're gonna see Solos go up against Treebeard for this fight here, and that's a Jarvan that has a lot of tanky items there. Maybe just a item holder. I know Treebeard likes to put those items in some legendary units later on, but 6 cultists apiece, so we're gonna see the Galio showdown here.
The Galio showdown in this corner. We've got a 6 cultist Galio in the other. We've also got a 6 cultist Galio, and it
Oh,
looks like it's going to be Souless who is potentially going to win in that
ooh,
out.
yeah.
I believe that was 13 HP is what I saw.
Yeah, it
When
was
you hovered over it, that's literally a kiss on the cheek will take him down.
some ridiculously low number there. But yeah, okay. So Chris did lose the last round. Now we're looking at TreeBeard right now. Be curious to see Chris in the near future though, because made some interesting decisions that I do want to touch upon. But we do see the sixth cultist here from TreeBeard in the form. I think last game actually had. Oh man, I'm getting deja vu right now. I think had a chosen Elise, or not Elise, sorry, in Evelyn in the last game as well. But rolling down to 0 right now. We might see Cheaper just keep up with this cultist. I mean, has Rivens in the bench though, wants to transition into that over the Jarvan, which arguably might even be stronger right now in this Jarvan too. But either
Mhm.
way, Treebeard not gonna be in a position to go fast 9.
This cultist keeper comp is something that feels unbeatable for what again feels like a bunch of rounds, right? He does end up winning, was lose streaking there for a second, but it's just one of those comps that just all the like in my opinion, just like all of a sudden falls off, right? You're winning by a lot, and then all of a sudden you lose barely, and then you're losing by a lot. I won 11 games in a row playing cultist keeper earlier today, and then I lost like 6 in a row and ended up in third. So like
Mhm.
that's I think the risk you get,
Yeah.
particularly with working with keepers in your comp. But I think the bait here is more of, all right, I've got Riven. You know what I mean? What should I do with this Riven? Am I gonna keep her, with this minimal shield? I don't have my Dusks yet because the reason why you build Riven tanky is because of that Dusk trait. It's going to overcome the lack of items. So that Riven's gonna be weaker than someone else with a Riven with a Dusk trait. But we will see a little bit later as Bkrisz is going to be running that Spirit Hunter comp. This is the one that a writer posted on Twitter not too long ago that has gotten mega popular. I have not been able to drive this comp. Well, I don't know what's wrong with me. But yeah, the Spirit comp is pretty good. Spirits, it feels really squishy. Why is this working so well, particularly on a place like Ladder?
Yeah, okay. So with Ahri being busted, I guess at the end of the day, something Bkrisz did do. It's interesting though, is has the GA on the Yumi, but not on the Ahri, and actually chose to make it on a Yumi too, and not like sell and move the item over. Maybe it's gonna look to make like double GA, or I suppose triple GA, because one is on the Aphelios right now. And okay, so Chris has lost the last couple of rounds. Um, I think because there's no love for the Ahri right now, doesn't have Aphelios 3, doesn't have Lissandra 3. So, like, Aphelios 4 is the win condition. You're going to need Aphelios 4. You're also going to need Ahri in the front line to make sure she gets that cast off, because that's where you find success in the Aphelios. He needs to be able to stack that Rage Blade instantly. He like summon those turrets to just, kind of like just bump through the enemy team. You can revive in that GA state. You get the QSS, the last item, so that you won't get CC'd. But Chris is 2 Lissandras away and 1 Aphelios away, but still, like, needs to find another Yumi or needs to find another Vest for that RAGA and really get his comp to the late game dominant force that we can see it be.
Oh, dude, Barrybadden's comp is strong AF. Do you see what's going
Yep.
on? So, don't mean to take away Chris's spirit comp here, as Aphelios 3 is not actually putting up any sort of a fight whatsoever. Thank
Yeah.
goodness for those turrets. That's the thing about GA and Aphelios is the turrets will still go, and I believe proc the hunter proc as well,
Yep.
as they count as individual auto attacks, I believe in the coding. But yeah, Chris is outside of Barry Badden's team, who has
Cool.
lost one round this whole time. This comp is one that you're going to be seeing a lot of, and the big thing here is that Moonlight beefing up that Aphelios in the back line. But where does he go from here? Right, this is where I definitely have the hardest time. Is level 7 and 8. What am I going for?
Yeah, I mean, level 7 is kind of where your comp comp really spikes. You definitely want to hit RE2 on level 7. You're probably going to put in, I think a Mystic, maybe a Janna, maybe whatever other, like Cassiopeia or something of the sort. Okay, did hit the QSS there. That's going to be huge. This is 5-1, so there won't be any more item components being achieved here. QSS, yep, that's the slam. I think, okay, Giant Slayer on the Ahri, not bad. A solid item there. Actually, one that we were discussing, a bit before the show about, viability of Giant Slayer versus versus like dual gauntlet stacking and stuff.
Mhm.
But this is where Chris is going to roll down. Okay, hits the Aphelios and the Lysandra. So now, okay, we're gonna be leveling up, putting that Mystic in. Has a Nico as well. I think as soon as another Ahri is going to be found, then Chris needs to Nico that Ahri. The thing
Mhm.
is, the GA still on the Yumi though, instead of the Ahri. Not a fan.
Not used to seeing Morgana jump into the back line like that,
Oh yeah.
but it doesn't matter, because it's actually gonna end up working out, for him in terms of that
Ah.
positioning, but the Aphelios now, because of that Moonlight buff, wow, what a
Oh.
bait a couple times, throughout that fight. The GA with the Quicksilver, and now we finally have our first Talon. So funny that Talon was people were like, "Talon abusers, bleh," right? And this is actually the first Talon that we've seen carry so far today.
Yeah, maybe there's a lack of brawler Ash in this lobby because I know that with the amount of shifts we have seen in the meta, people are going away from the
Got the Ahri.
yeah, going away from the brawler, going back to the Talon because people have the Ahri now and the Aphelios. I think you slammed the Nico here,
I do
Chris.
too.
What do you? Yeah.
With how
Okay.
popular this unit
There we
is,
go.
you might not be in a position to get another Ahri,
Yeah.
right? At 4 costs, like, this has been one of the few times I feel like a TFT where you are actually gonna have to run into there are just no copies left. Right? Because she fits into a couple different comps. She can create a lot of opportunities for you. We'll see this Giant Slayer and how no, never mind. We won't be seeing the Giant Slayer as
Yeah.
TreeBeard and his team of cultists is going to be doing a little bit better than. Oh my
Okay.
goodness! When you can't get to the Aphelios, things are gonna be a little bit. I'm gonna wait for the Aphelios now, as he's banned me 2 times in a row. That is why the GA is good. That is why the Rage Blade is good, and that's why we're saying good night, Moon, to our friends, as our Aphelios is gonna be the carry. Let's see how far this goes, man. Like at this point, anything can happen. As DuoQueueAbuser finds himself in 8th place, has his own Ahri in the front line, but not a lot outside of that Zed too. If some of these units were tier 2, then maybe, as this pack is wonderful and beautiful, but cannot be utilized in any way, shape, or form. Does get the Yone, and that should definitely help. No Yasuo to go with it. This Ahri and this Zed need to do literally all of the work, with a little bit of sprinkling of that Evelyn with those 3 shades.
Yeah, we're gonna see the Aphelios versus the Zed here. Actually, DuoQueueAbuser's comp is so strong, and there the Ahri Spirit Bomb goes off, and it buffs the attack speed of the Zed. So Bkrisz, oh man, like both of them are so strong. So one of them has to take the hit though, and I guess fortunately for DuoQueueAbuser, Chris takes the hit, and both of them are within one shot of dying. But man, like for Spirit, Z3 strong. That comp can win games. Same thing with Chris's comp. For Spirit, RA2, with the Aphelios 4, that wins games as well. Gonna
It
see what
is,
players pick up here though.
and in terms of the flip of the coin, it's actually good that DuoQueueAbuser and Bkrisz just fought each other in that round, which means for at least 3 rounds, they will not be in a situation where they eliminate each other, right?
Mhm.
Because, like you said, both of these players might be running comps that could eventually top 4, but if they face each other, one of them's not going to happen. And so I actually think it's a good thing that they both face each other in that particular round, because it will be at least 3 rounds before they can see each other again. As Sphinx had a very nice HP at 69. And again, Sphinx, we've talked about having he's a. I think the mental with Sphinx is probably his biggest challenge. So now that he's here on top, I want to see how this goes past halftime, for example.
Mhm.
But Sphinx, um, I think he was competing for NA first to in the race for set 2,
Oh yeah.
set 4. He was competing. I believe he got third or was third at some point in Masters. So he's been
Yeah.
playing a lot of this set, and he has fully committed to that Yasuo, and it is going to be that beefy Yasuo with a Dragon's Claw on
Mhm.
it. We've got the 4 Divines too. A group that we haven't really seen, because we've got 2 Sword of the Divines on the board for Sphinx, and they will be doing true damage after they do 8 auto attacks or get hit 8 times. And for Callista, that's a moderately big deal.
Oh man, the Ahri didn't get to cast Spirit Bomb actually before being sent to the GA state, which means that, oh man, unfortunately for DuoQueueAbuser, that will be a fast 8th place there. Sphinx, I'm actually glad that we're on Sphinx's board right now because I wanted to talk about the Yasuo some more, and the fact that he decided to not wait for a QSS, but, like, slam a declaw because the declaw slam happened a lot earlier. I don't think I even had the opportunity to it, but even still, this build from the Yasuo will fall off later, but it is still even strong on, during stage number 5, pretty much like all of stage 5, as he only lost 1 round during the stage so far, and actually has picked up 2 sort of divines. And I mean, Divine Callista in the back there, she can do some work. She has a Rage Blade there. Not only are you gonna have to worry about Yasuo, but you have to worry about the rest of the duelists there as well. Cassiopeia
Mhm.
being tier 2 in the front line, she's getting a lot of impactful ultis. Can Sphinx actually eliminate another member here with Chris? We'll see how the Aphelios handles this.
Yeah, the Callista doing that, like, chip true damage on
Ooh,
every single auto attack is enormous for Sphinx's late game potential. Because that's the thing about Callista, she can also fall off, right? You can
yeah.
get her to attack as much as possible, but her base AD just isn't there, right? So this extra true damage that each auto attack is getting with that Rage Blade and that attack speed, plus the execute, this is now a late game Callista. Definitely one of the units I was most excited about playing around with when I saw this set get announced. And this is a very mix and match type of composition. And this shows how much experience Sphinx has on this set to see the double sword of divine play on this Zin and the Callista, to know that this was an opportunity to fit in an Irelia and then now put in that Adept and Mystic with that Shen. That's like some really crazy good long game thinking there, and Sphinx might bear the fruit of his rewards in this in his work in this lobby.
Oh yeah, definitely want to touch upon that more in a second. But yeah, Souless actually did fall as well during the last round and lost harder than Chris did because Souless is in 7th place and Chris was able to scrape up a 6th there. But going back to Sphinx here, I agree. Definitely super good to recognize that you can fit a lot of these small synergies in. Like look at this, look at the synergy bar on the left hand side, right? Like 2 Adept, 2 Enlighten, 2 Mystic, 2 Dusk. A lot of good things happening and working on here that are still impactful. While Adept isn't as prioritized as much as it was in the beginning of the set, it's still going to be a nice little bit of buff there. And you get that with obviously the Reliant providing both the Divine and the Enlightened there, actually. So a really, really
Mhm.
good play from Sphinx. I 100% agree. There will be Jingli's talent in Assassin Morgana there that the Yasuo has to face up against here.
Assassin Morgana, you love to see it. This Talon though, thank goodness for that GA. One of the most overpowered things about GA, not overpowered, one of the strongest things about GA is that
Oh,
loss of aggro when they fall. As Jingli feels very strong right now.
yeah.
Top 4 again. Barrybadden top 4s here, got 5th place, and that's very impressive. Again, was a one trick Rebels player in that last in the last set. So it's good to see kind of that evolution, because there are players who will fall out of contention just based on how the set plays and might come back a little bit later.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a little sad Gunmate isn't here for this set.
True.
Um, because I think
True, true.
he would absolutely destroy on it. But we're here and these are the players, and I think like what's really cool about this particular lobby is I can see every single one of them doing something in TFT here in 3 to 6 months. And Jingli is going to be the one that I'm learning a lot about through Fight Night Rising. This is one of the best ways to put your name into the community's mouths, and I think the way that Jingli's playing, last week's lobby, I think admittedly not as strong as this one. Right,
Yeah.
definitely a lobby that I think a lot of people had an opportunity to win, and the fact that Barrybadden and Jingli are both coming back into a new set and have found themselves pretty consistent success so far is a testament to how good they are as TFT players.
Oh yeah, definitely. 100% agree there. See a lot of promise being shown by these players that you really just love to see, especially being a new set. And people are going to be motivated after the end of set 3 and the Galaxy's championship. Like it's so inspiring to be a competitor pursuing for that and seeing, where you can get to if your efforts are rewarded. People like Jing Lee, like Spencer, like Barry Badden, Sphinx, like all very, really good players that
Mhm.
we could see competing at events like those. in the
Yeah,
future.
Sphinx is a great example of someone who has made that jump,
Yeah.
right? Was a Fight Night Rising regular and then now is competing consistently against the best of the best. And our top three from last week have all found themselves in the top four from for this lobby too. And that's
Mhm.
again another testament to that consistency. And all I want to do is make an Assassin Morgana now. This isn't going. Oh, it's Zillion versus Zillion. One is tier two, one is a
Yeah.
tier one, but the reses are both online. How is this going to get solved? Oh, I believe the
Zillion.
second Zillion is going to have the advantage. Yeah, there we go. Especially since
Yeah.
it's tier two. Though, if I lose a game, that's how I want to do it. You know?
Zillion 2 said, "Son, you are no match for me. I am stronger. I am leveled up," and yeah, it wasn't
Yep.
to be the win there for the Zillion one, unfortunately. That's kind of a sad loss, though, I think. Personally, it's like, man, how the fight went so that it could end with 2 Zillions, like, man, if there was just a little bit better fight RNG, I would have won that because I could kill a Zillion too, right? It's just it's only a
Yeah.
2.
I just needed
But
everyone, literally any one person to stay
yeah.
alive that wasn't also my Zillion.
Mhm.
As Sphinx, ever since we actually transitioned, we lauded all this praise on him now, has lost every game since we've left at 17 HP here, has
Yeah.
transitioned over to 4 Dusk. No, that he was scouting.
Yeah, he's
So
cutting, he's
6,
cutting.
6 Duelists still. Duelists, another common thing that falls off a little bit later, will fit in a third adept. You don't really see that very often. So the attack speed of everyone else remaining, that's going to be very, very strong at the beginning of the round. But does he have enough upfront damage to win out in the end? Will anyone be able to get back to that Callista? Will this Callista be able to carry? You put the Sword of Divine on her for this reason and automatically get CC'd right from the beginning. This that ribbon's a little strong.
Yep, and you know who else got CC? The Yasuo there, because no QSS on the Yasuo means that this comp will fall off. I was talking about this earlier, and exactly what happened. You know, Sphinx, it's nice, right? You can secure a consistent top 4, like top 3 placement like Sphinx just did, if you're gonna be very aggressive in your item slamming, which is fine. I can't fault him for it if he wasn't going to this game being like, all right, I want and I need first place, which going into this tournament, it's kind of a battle of consistency. You're going to need to place well throughout all of the games, not just one. So Sphinx getting third kind of was written in the stars since the early game here.
I think looking at QSS as a carry item, not as like a defensive item, will help a lot of players
Hmm.
in this particular set. Uh, because it's hard to look at
Definitely agree.
defensive items just in general as carry items, right? Thornmail, like old Thornmail, kind of comes in, like rings in my mind when that item just got released. It was strong, but I think QSS in general, just like it is in regular League of Legends or on the Rift, can be specifically for your carry. As we have Elderwood
Oh
set that is
man.
punching and throwing fisticuffs and will end up taking Barrybadden down. Remember, he got 2 of those. He potentially could have picked 2 of those sets up in one pack, but decides to just have 4
Yeah.
anyway. We have a lot of very strong units on the board right now for Spencer. We expected Brawlers to be here. We expected Dust to be here. This is a very, very good comp, especially with the Dazzler add-on with Ezreal, who's going to be able
Yeah.
to take down the attack damage of literally everybody after that ult.
This is such a good board here from Spencer on Take a moment to highlight everything that's right here. If you push level 9, or level 8, level 9 with this composition, you can get not only 6 Brawler, but also 6 Elderwood, which buffs up all the Elderwoods with stacking stats throughout the whole course of the fight. You're even able to be 50 gold level 9 here just because of how strong you are with 2 Elderwood spats. The addition of Lux as well, I especially love. Not only does it give Divine, to the Warwick, which is really good for him as Warwick can be like kind of pseudo carry. It also gives Dazzler to debuff the AD from Barrybadden's comp, which is really strong because Barrybadden has a Jin. Oh, actually found a new 3 there with that roll down. Is going to put in 2 Warwicks.
Oh, could potentially. We're
Man,
very close to Warwick 3. Set
yeah.
3, the dream is dead, but Warwick 3, I sell the sets, find the Warwick.
I mean, wants either another set too. Wants to make sure he wins the game here. Um,
Oh, yeah.
Can't
That's
fall
right.
asleep.
That's a thing. You gotta also win the game. It's not all about the memes and the fun. As Gargoyle Stoneplate showing its value right now on that new set's gonna come back with ripped abs. And the last time we saw this happen, it was all set. Throw those fisticuffs to a potential lobby win. The Ash is still alive, but fourth shot can take
Okay.
anyone down. It is over, my friends. Spencer will end up taking this second lobby win, which has I mean, basically so far a lot of different things have happened, but we got to see the Elderwood brawlers there at the very end do brawler things. We know that comp is good. If there is a comp that needs to be adjusted, it's a comp with Ash in it, in in my opinion. But how did that lobby go based off of your experience so far in set two? Pretty par for the course.
Yeah, I think that was pretty par for the course. It's like, oh yeah, Yasuo 3 early on. Oh man, that guy's gonna be so strong for so long, and he was, but fell off due to I think optimization choices as we talked about. Man, the Ashe though does go into the end game so well, especially able to find set 2 and some Elderwood spats there. We saw some Riven, of course, per usual. We saw some Ahris, but they did struggle, however, on
Yeah,
yeah,
Ahri specifically.
no, definitely, definitely. I think a lot of factors go into that, but we will take a look at our scores from the past couple of games to really see where we're shaping up.
Jesus.
And oh man, I didn't realize this was so close right now. I'm more hype all of a sudden. Ding Lee and Sphinx all tied with 13 points, but really close behind is also Spencer's and Barrybadden, 13 and 12 points respectively there. Souless having a little bit of a rough day, but with how close the rest of the lobby is, there's actually a chance for Souless still to make top 3 at the end of the day.
I think what you got to look at if you're Souless, right, or even Chris, is the fact that DuoQueueAbuser has a 6-1, Spencer has a 3-10, TreeBeard has a 10-4, right? This is not a consistent lobby, right?
Yeah,
Outside of Sphinx there at 7-7.
yeah,
So this is new set stuff, right? Anything can happen. And when you want to stay between like 6 points, I think is the max you want to kind of be behind first. But at
yeah.
3 points to 11 points behind third, like third place is still everyone's still in the running to come back next week. But three-way tie for first with fourth and fifth being 2 points behind, like that's pretty ridiculous, and that's going to set up this post
Yeah.
half quite well, Khroen.
Oh yeah, I am excited to see how this all ends up. But before that, we will be going on a quick 5-minute break. But man, this set is exciting, so don't go anywhere. We will return shortly with more TFT Fight Night Rising. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fight Night Rising. Had a couple of great games so far, which
Mhm.
resulted in the first five, top five players being so close in points. Boop. I am excited to get into these next couple of games to see who will be our first set for, TFT Fate's Fight Night Rising winner.
Yeah, the only one that will ever be able to say they were the first set for TFT Fight Night Rising, a
True.
champion winning that $100 prize for first place. We aren't playing for nothing here, folks. As like you said, our leaderboard right now is pretty crowded at the top half. We've got a three-way tie for first place right now between TreeBeard. Excuse me. I got a little tickle in my throat. Jingly and Sphinx. And as you see, these lobby placements too, not a lot of consistency outside of our bottom two and Sphinx. Everyone else polarizing games, which means that round three is kind of like the great equalizer. We're going to see separation from the top and the bottom, most likely, on
Yeah.
this lobby, setting us up for a pretty ridiculous round four, which has its own meta a lot of the time. We'll talk about that when we get there as we get back into the game with this three-way tie at first. We're going to start off with TreeBeard,
Hmm.
who has himself part of that three-way tie.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of tiers on this
Oh
board,
no.
and nobody wants them.
The
Is there is there a reason why people were allergic to they were social distancing themselves from those tiers?
Tears suck. What do you use tears for? What do you like, okay, like, actually, though, what do you use tears for in this set, right? Maybe a blue buff for Riven? Like, what else, though? Like, people aren't slamming redemptions, people aren't slamming Shojins really, only if you know that you're gonna go into a Jinx comp where you're really making Shojins. Sometimes you can put it on Ahri, but, like, literally, like, what else? Like, chalices? Like, it's okay. Static shivs, like, who
Mhm.
builds that item anymore? Like, you just don't need tears right now. Like, speaking of static shiv, if you're hovering that, not going to slam it,
That
I would
would
imagine.
be that would be very TreeBeard of him, to do that to you. But
Yeah.
yeah, in terms of opening, once again, it's still pretty fluid, more fluid than any other set has been. The early game is more about if you're gonna invest in your chosen earlier on. We already have identified that Yasuo and Elise are most likely the strongest, one cost chosens.
Yep.
At least more so because of the cultist keeper synergies they have, and Yasuo because it's Yasuo. And Yasuo is one of the only
Strong
one
unit.
cost champs that can make it to the late game, especially with a QSS, which is a carry item for our friends at home listening. As we get through some of these items, we got that tier, we got that bow, we got a couple TreeBeards on the board and in our pictures as well. Through these NPC rounds, what are you kind of thinking? You're at a new set. What's your like thought process when it comes to the early game and the decisions you make before the first PvP round?
Yeah, so in this set, in set 4 especially, you're going to be making different decisions than you usually would be in previous sets because the thing we talked about earlier, if you purchase a unit in the shop, you can find that unit in the next shop. If you don't purchase a unit, you will not find it in the subsequent shop afterwards. So it's actually sometimes correct to not buy things in your shop if you don't want to see more of them, which is a little interesting. And people have talked about some discourse between like, okay, it shouldn't be on natural shops. That should only be on shops that were you are manually rolling for because it does punish picking things up um, in your shop early on. But either way, gonna be looking personally, be looking for a strong start, a strong board. If I see like a chosen Tom Kench brawler, sure, I'm buying that. If I see a chosen Maokai brawler or even Elderwood maybe I'm buying that. I like taking the majority of shows that I see leveling up to 4 pretty aggressively and trying to win streak because it gets you to that point. So whereas you can go to level 7, find your Rivens and Ashes, really be solidified in what direction that you're going in the game, or maybe another direction besides that. Like as we're talking about, this set is very flexible and fluid with what can win lobbies actually. Treebeard right here being aggressive in terms of slamming a Hodge. Hodge is a solid item though, so I definitely don't blame him for that one.
And we got a jeweled gauntlet too
Ooh.
for a Bkrisz. It's most likely going to be going on an Ahri a little later on. TF doing TF things. I believe last set I compared TF to like your partner waiting for you to come out of the dressing room, just always holding. you know, holding all your
Yeah.
stuff for you, right? And then once you find your outfit, you like give all the stuff to somebody else. And that's probably what we're going to see with this
Yeah.
TF. The thing that we're actually seeing a lot of is a lot of people putting items on Nidalee to hold.
Mhm.
Pretty strong early game unit. Remember with the sharpshooter trait, their ults also will ricochet.
Yep.
So the spear will be doing, that percent damage to all of the other targets. So right now, in terms of the board, Nidalee is going to be the carry here for TreeBeard with a Hodge. It's going to be nice. A little bit of dodge, a little bit. Oh no, it's not dodge. It's a little bit of lifesteal, a little bit more attack damage, and that should help you for the next 4 to 5 rounds. After that,
Yeah.
you're going to be thinking about putting those items on someone else, most likely.
DuoQueueAbuser, how does he do it? Has a strong early game pretty much every single time. Finds a chosen cultist TF there. Galio goes and slams down. It's going to be kind of close here if Nilly gets another spear off, but I think at the end of the day, DuoQueueAbuser will end the potentials of a win streak that Treebeard was hoping for, which is why he leveled to 4 aggressively, put that vein in for the sharpshooter, but now just has to sell off those pair of Nidalees on the bench and use that gold to buy the Janna. Janna, a strong early game unit, but we saw a lot of it because of Enlightened and with people going Talon. We did see one Talon actually today,
That's
but
it,
not
which is
too
very
much. Yeah.
yeah. If you're like kind of like a casual TFT fan, that's probably one of the more surprising things that we've talked about so far today is the lack of Talon. And we saw Jingli run it to a top 4. So we know it can work and was a
Mhm.
big reason why it got there. But I think that was more lobby specific more than
Yeah,
anything else.
agree.
Like you said, there wasn't, I mean, our brawler did win the lobby and that Talon was never going to beat that brawler comp,
Yeah,
right?
no.
So that's like the give and take there. Is brawlers are just a little too beefy for someone like Talon to be successful later on. However, if the pieces around Talon are able to butter up or loosen up some of that HP, then you can find some success. But I don't think anyone's really solidified exactly what those supporting parts are
Yeah.
just yet. However, you can be an early game nuisance with Janna if you if you do what I do and put 2 Rage Blades and a Shojin's on her, so she's always ulting. I won a game running that. Of course, my Janna was Enlightened chosen, but I
Okay.
won. And I think I turned into a Mage too and was able to make Annie like an actual tank in the front line. It
Oh,
was
sure.
absolutely hilarious.
I kind of forgot about Annie a little bit because we don't really see Mage or Fortune too much at all. Maybe a little bit too niche there, but there was actually a time in the past week where we were seeing a little bit of Mage re-rolling, which actually looking at Chris's board there, I'm not sure if it was a cultist chosen or a Mage chosen TF there, but would be curious to check that out soon. Anyways, though, going back to the Annie thing, if you just put tanky items in the Annie, like I don't know, like a Titan's Resolve, Brambled, like Declaw, Gunblade, things like that. And he actually could just kind of like 1v9 at the end there if you're able to find a tier 3 version of her. And with the reroll version of the comp, you're able to find TF3, have some good damage items on him. Like I've won a lobby with that. But it's kind of fallen out of meta, I guess, as the whole meta shifts have happened. So probably won't do it too much more. Souless though has potential for sharpshooters here and 3 fortune, which he is running. Talking about fortune, here it is.
And so with Fortune, you're going to be getting better value the more you lose.
Yep.
Which is one of those, like, in general terms with game design, you don't wanna reward losing, but in a game like TFT where inting is a viable and
Yeah.
legitimate strategy, especially if you're not doing it on purpose, right? I'm just inting for carousel. If you ever lose a round in the first 3 rounds, that's all you have to say, and then everything is forgiven. You're just inting for carousel,
Yeah, or for
and
econ as well, go
yeah.
on a loss streak, you get some more money too, you can't discount that.
Yeah, exactly, and so with Fortune, the longer you lose, the more valuable the orbs will be, when they come up. So yeah, it kind of does reward falling off, and it's so funny because these Fortune units are actually quite strong early on. Especially this Annie, who can function as an off tank. With that shield is enormous when she
Yeah,
when she ults and does a
it's
good amount of
big.
damage. But it looks like we might be committing to the sharpshooter right now with the Jinx and the Teemo. We're keeping the Elderwood Brawler Maokai on the bench for now.
Yeah.
We'll see if Souless will be able to get out of this, bottom of the totem pole position because it's been hard for him so far today.
I think if it was a full commit to sharpshooters, I think rely mostly on Jinx being the carry there. We would see a Rageblade slam. Optimal items for that Jinx carry is Rageblade, Shojin, QSS. She's just able to keep on ulting, stunning everybody, doing the AoE damage, which leads to a lot of wins. So let's typing in chat. You good, bro? Okay, DuoQueueAbuser saying, you good, bro? You have fortune in Souless. Souless is V6 fortune only. I wonder if he's going to go into 6 fortune this game.
He's just gonna
Souless is a
spike the
memer.
ball, right? And
Yeah,
then just do it. And I think that it's a great idea. For fun, in terms of strategy and winning money today, maybe not.
yeah.
But if he's able to win, think about the
Uh,
bragging rights. Think about the banter. And
I
isn't
don't
that
think
worth it?
I don't think I have to think about it because Solis sold the Annie there, so not gonna be going not gonna be going that route after all, it seems. But okay, yes, Chris, the reroll mage, like I was talking about, we're actually going to see it right here. Can it still hold up against these top compositions that have solidified themselves in this meta? I don't know. That's the question. I'm gonna be love to be able to find out here. Ooh, actually getting an Annie from the orb there. That's huge for the Annie too, power spike.
The six fortune dream is dead. Well, not yet.
It's okay, Boop. It's okay.
I mean, think about how good that
Ooh,
fortune grab would have been at a 5 loss streak, as we do get a very, very early
yeah.
TF. And I think this is another really good time to kind of reiterate why we're seeing tier 3 units, and there does seem to be um, a little bit of confusion. So, basically, what happens, right? Say you have your pack, you don't select anything in that pack. You re-roll. The next pack will have completely different set of champs. If you do select something, then you re-roll. Then it's just going to re-roll as normal. Right, it won't have any of those special outlier things. It'll just be another random pack. You don't have that special, like, okay, you didn't choose anyone, now you're re-rolling a next pack. We're going to offer you totally different units. So hopefully that is a really good way of kind of clearing up this re-roll oriented type of situation, especially in the early game. You're seeing some crazy people roll at like 5 and 6 tier 3, they're one cost units, and that's a big reason why they're going to be able to do that, because the more you roll, you are actually increasing your chances of hitting. But if you do pick up somebody, right, then the chances are going to be the same in the next pack as they always would have been.
Yep. For the units that you do pick up, but not the ones for you don't pick up. But yeah, again, that leads to seeing some very early 3-star one costs. Like we saw last game, the Yasuo 3. It was even before Krugs, but now we see the TF3 post Krugs here, but rolled it naturally. And that's huge. I think that okay. Interesting. So Chris is trying to push levels right now because when you once you find TF3, you're okay to go to level 6 or level 7 to roll for that Annie 3. Using a lot of gold there to level up, so it was only on 10 right now. I guess wanted to roll to try to find either the 6th mage or the Annie 2. I don't think needed to use that gold that aggressively though, because a TF at this point, a TF3 is going to do really good at carrying. Like watch when he actually starts casting his cards here. Okay, well, actually wasn't as good as I thought it would be. So,
Doesn't get the crits. Got
okay,
the crits that
still
time.
good enough. It's still good enough, actually. My point stands. TF is able to carry at this point of the game, until you find your Annie. So I don't think that Chris needed to use that much econ there, but still, this is where we are at the end of the day for his board right now.
We got TF and his supports all around him. All of them
Yep.
actual supports in the game.
Oh yeah,
Annie
true.
used to,
Janet, Avi,
Annie,
Yuvi, Lulu.
yeah, Annie is a mid laner now. Had a
Yeah.
very long time as a support. So yeah, I just love it when those kinds of things just happen in a game in terms of thematics. But the Jewel Gauntlet might not go on to an Ahri now, especially since this TF is already tier
Yeah.
3. Selling tier 3 units feels wrong, but sometimes you do have to do them. I've definitely been trapped all the way back to set 1 by tier 3 Garen, if you remember that. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's all about knowing and understanding the difference between like a tier 2 4 cost versus a tier 3 1 cost, and where those power levels are. And the more familiar you get with that, and on the specific champs and where their power levels are, you're going to find yourself a lot more successful when it comes to these games. And I think that's the hardest part about transitioning, is understanding where your current power level is versus where it's going to be in 5 rounds, where it needs to be in 5 rounds.
Yeah, no, definitely agreed there. But as you said, this Jeweled Gauntlet will probably remain on the TF because it is a reroll mage composition there. Ahri does want to be the sixth mage of choice in this composition, but she's not going to be, that with that the playstyle of having spirit and enabling the other like auto attackers or things like that. She's going to be a supplementary damage mage there. But Chris still is very strong right now at this point. Going to be grabbing a tier to put on that TF because these fights are actually kind of close because TF doesn't have any tier items. And
Uh-huh.
his
No
wild
front line
cards,
either. Yeah.
yeah, anyone is not really that much frontline at this point, and the cards have kind of been inting a little bit. They haven't been hitting, good targets on the first cast. Sometimes the second one's good, but a little bit unlucky there, but still winning their rounds regardless.
All right, we're going over to Chris, who was our Philios player last round, and we finally do have some mages. In terms of the final character, we talked about transitioning power. In terms of this particular comp, where are we going to see that final power budget land?
In terms of this mage comp, I mean, you
Mhm.
go to level 7, you put in Yumi, and like the board we see here, like you switch Ahri for Vygar, that's kind of it. You're gonna reroll 50 gold, at 50 gold, like slow roll at level 7 to find any three, and to find you can go like Lulu 3, Janet 3, things like that, but it's really just the Annie 3 that's gonna be carrying you because she's actually gonna 1v9 the world when it goes to the late game.
Feels like that on Summoner's Rift too. Good Tibbers will
Yeah.
destroy absolutely everybody. And you're actually seeing the benefit of that mage buff on that Annie. That double cast is not just for the damage, it's for the shield, as the cards aren't going to help his case. This hunter buff should mean that this Aphelios from Souless will take Chris down.
Yeah.
Man, I think that TF needs to go back to like the hyperbolic chamber or something and practice throwing those cards. I would not let him take an apple off my head right now.
No, actually, every single fight, the TF cards have just not been the hot there. I don't know whether this is the reason why or not, but when I do see this composition, when I have played it, I have positioned on the right-hand side and had Annie not in the absolute front middle, but in the second row actually, like right in front of your wherever your comp is. I think it may be a little bit of a positioning diff there, but I say that very hesitantly because I'm not absolutely confident how this comp interacts with every single other comp that people play in this game. It's the start of the set, so it's kind of hard to get that
Mhm.
get that knowledge already.
Well, let's talk about why that might be a little bit better. At least from what I'm seeing right now, because the Annie is so far away, they're getting unmitigated access to the TF almost immediately. So maybe pushing her back one row so she can get an auto attack off before they actually start fighting her. She'll actually get her ultimate sooner, and she'll have more health under the shield.
Yeah.
Does ult. That's definitely part of what I'm seeing, but I would actually agree with you. I think this positioning is also why some of these cards are whiffing.
Mhm.
There isn't a direct straight line opportunity, and when they have been set up, because I've actually noticed in this particular set, the units will actually meet in a diagonal line across the field. More often than in last sets, and that's like you want to see that happen. You want to see that TF middle card get thrown through every single one of them, and just the positioning here, I think, is making that a little bit harder to achieve. Even in the same spot on the other side, I think in terms of how his last rounds have been, probably would have been more successful.
Yeah, because not only moving the Annie back one, but positioning it kind of like to the same side that the TF is on, like closer to that, I think would help the. I can't explain it well enough, and I'll have to go back to the drawing board to try to explain it more accurately later. But if Annie is positioned closer to the TF, the way that the units will wrap around will be in just in a better way for TF to land some better cards. In that case. And we're not quite seeing it there, which might again be a reason why we're seeing some of these losses. Okay, Chris does go to level 7, starts rolling, actually finds a Lilia, so he's going to replace that Lulu as it isn't Lulu 2 yet. 1% chance to find a legendary, let alone it being the Mage. So that's going to be huge for Chris
Oh,
here.
oh,
That is a
oh!
Diana 4 though for
Good
Jing
night,
Lee.
good night, Moon.
Good night, Moon.
Good, good night, Chris. Good night, good night, Paddlemar. Good night, Lulu. That's the Goodnight Moon comp, my friends. That's any Moonlight comp with tier 4 items. And basically, it works both ways. When they lose, we can also say Goodnight Moon. When they win, it's Goodnight Moon. I love it. That's what I'm calling it from now on, as a Jingly running that Goodnight Moon comp very, very good children's book. Uh, by the way, for all you viewers with kids, very, very one of the best how to go to sleep books for kids. I used to be a preschool teacher, so that is actually not coming from a place of no knowledge. As Jingli and his Goodnight Moon is putting him closer to sleep than to victory right now, sitting at 57 HP. What do you think of the Diana carry in this situation?
So I think Diana Carey is viable. I like Diana Carey. The thing that what's going across my mind right now is the items. I think Titan's Resolve, I have seen a case for that being good. I think that Jewel Gauntlet is good, but not good enough to not get fourth shot by that Jin there. Oh my word. That is a chosen cultist Jin from Treebeard there. And man, did he do work there that Diana didn't
Yeah.
even get to cast. That was crazy.
Good
But
good night, Moon.
good
Um,
night. It works either way. It works either way. That's why I
yeah,
love it. I was like, okay, that makes
exactly.
sense. No, definitely. Good night, moon, or good night, moon.
Yeah, it's all about the emphasis, right? As I love that Jingli is going for this because I literally talked about this Jeweled Gauntlet Titans Resolve thing a little earlier
Yeah.
when we were saying Titans Resolve on Yasuo. One of my really good friends ran this in a game and absolutely destroyed the lobby. So I don't remember what the third item was. It wasn't a second Jeweled Gauntlet, but I see why the second Jeweled Gauntlet is here. It's
Yeah.
going to guarantee those crits. But I'd rather see maybe something like even a Giant Slayer outside of that second Jeweled Clump. It's something that's a little bit more percent health based. Morello's could work to try to get a little bit more versatility from this Diana outside of just straight up burst mage. And when it works, it works.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the strength of it there, though, when she's actually able to get to the back line and cast the ultimate, everything just melts there. Yeah, I think those items could work. And another thing that I was thinking about actually is we talk about QSS, and then like QSS is a carry item. I think that it might be something that's necessary when it gets to the later stages of the game, and you're just going to be losing to CC. I think at that point in the game. Also, if you're going to be getting, Jin fourth shot, if it doesn't kill you, having Gunblade I think is a really good Diana item to heal you back up because she does so much damage. It's going to heal her back. I don't know about to full, but even still, there's a lot of options, I suppose, for the Diana carry. But it'll be curious to see if these specific items for Jing Li do work out in the end.
As of right now, it's been kind of like a 50-50. We talk about comps being feast or famine, and right now,
Yeah.
Jingli in a little bit of a famine has a little bit of respite. Got a little care package with that one win, but it is definitely not in the bag to continue win streaking here. So, if I'm Jingli, especially at 7, I think I roll here. It's so funny because rolling at 7 used to be like the biggest throw of all time. Right,
Yeah.
you in the last set you just skipped level 7 a lot of the time. You just leveled to 8 and then rolled. However, in this particular set, with the new reroll mechanics, rerolling at 7 is a lot stronger than it used to be. We're going to keep Jingli here at 50 HP, but we still have a long way to go for
Yeah.
level 7. He could totally roll, but he could also level shortly too. I'm intrigued to see which direction he is leaning as we're seeing some keepers on the other side for DuoQueueAbuser. Again, very strong starter. Started strong in this round too, but looks like might be having a little bit of a hard time in this late game. This fourth shot onto the Jin needs to make something happen, and it doesn't. Jean Glee is going to make something happen instead. Good night,
It
Moon.
Good night, Moon. Even just the Diana auto attacks are critting for 1000 when she's tier 4. That's a lot. When you're talking about Diana, who we traditionally think of as like, okay, when she casts her spell, that's what's going to be doing all the damage there, but critting for 1000 per auto attack is insane. I think you're mentioning last round that you would like to see Jingli roll here, is that correct?
Hmm.
What would you I'm just curious, what would you like to see him, roll here for in this scenario? 'Cause he does have the Dyna 4 already, so I suppose, like,
Oh, you know
uh
what? That's true. I think I'm just kind of going, by the book in that
got
situation,
you. Okay,
right? But
okay.
I think here you're totally right. He already has the Diana 4. So why not just econ here? So Khroen, thanks
Yeah.
for righting the ship there. I appreciate that
I'm
because
just oh, I don't say it to be like, "You're wrong, Boop." I say it 'cause
no,
I
no,
I
no.
think
I
I think there
totally,
is
I totally
yeah.
understand. But I think in my head, I see the opportunity for some tier 3 units, right?
Mhm.
Where
Yeah.
he's at right now that he
Mhm.
might not have been given in another situation since he hit so early here on this Diana. But I think there is a discussion to say Is it better to find stronger new units or invest in
Yeah.
the units I already have? And I think that's where my head is.
Yeah, because in this composition, I have seen it to where people have rolled for like tier three, Akali, I think being the main one, and there wasn't Akali presented in Jingli's last shop, but as we
Mhm.
see, Jingli has not purchased that and is actually purchasing XP to level to 8. So what regardless of what the correct decision is, objectively, Jingli choosing to push those levels, but it depends on the items, right? I think if Jingli hadn't used that tier for the redemption on the Lysandra, there is an argument to keep rolling for those, to roll for Akali 3, maybe just until he finds or had found like the Lulu, or not Lulu, excuse me, the Yumi 2 and Janna 2, and then to go to 8 to roll for, because actually rolling for 3 costs on level 8 is going to be most efficient. 35% chance to find those there. um and I mean, Pike, you don't really need Pike here, I suppose, but having a 1.5-second longer stun from the tier 2 to the tier 3 version definitely is an argument for it there. And we see a Nico's help right now, so if any other units are going to get to tier 3, it's going to be even better. Of course, again, Jingli choosing push levels, so maybe gonna go for those legendary units once he hits level 8 and level 9.
I think understanding how Moonlight works or Goodnight Moon works in the late game is like the first step to unbreaking like the complexity around this comp, right?
Yeah,
How do I bring these early game units, all 1 and 2 cost units, into the late game? Yeah, items are part of it, but there's so much more that you have to think about. Even if you're like, okay, well, am I going to even go finish the game with these particular units online? Because
oof,
you're seeing it right now, and Ash with Giant Slayer can take down a tier 4 unit just like it's a tier 2 unit,
yeah,
right? So it really is a complicated comp to run in the late game, especially since I believe it has so many straight counters, right? Like you get Ahri, you get Spirit Bombed. We just saw the Ash go forward, and it doesn't matter if you're tier 4 or not if you're dead.
yeah, definitely. I would like to see Jingli level up here, put back in the Lux, as it is a Lux 2, and does just that there. Going up against Barrybadden last round, Barrybadden was playing that Brawler Ash composition. That's kind of the comp that I thought Barrybadden would play going into this set. It is kind of the most, at least in my mind, similar to the
Yeah.
the kind of like Jinx Brawlers, or then pivoting into Rebels later on into the game. But Barrybadden, I believe, last 2 games did play a Riven play style, but now is playing Ash. So is Barry Badden not a like a mono comp player now, not a quote unquote like one trick? Maybe Barry Badden choosing to feel the need to diversify here with maybe just how set 4 is. I think that's very good to be able to do that and to do it proficiently. We'll see if Barry Badden's able to make that work for this game, though. As this round, though, Jing Lee's Diana does take out Chris. That's not a tier 3 Annie yet.
But you saw how tanky that Annie was.
Yeah,
It just then like that Diana needed a little bit of extra time. Yes, it was a ZZ Raw and a Yumi, but still, I don't feel like a I don't feel like a sorcerer, right? Like Annie should be that kind of hidden tanky. Imagine if she wasn't a fortune mage. Right, like where she might find herself in
yeah.
some, like if she was a dusk mage, for example, that'd be
Oh man, that
absolutely insane. Like, and that's why she's not, but
yeah,
the
yeah,
the moral of the story here is a unit is that strong in a not strong comp because of what we're just saying, right? If she is in any other synergy, she's probably breaking the game. But because she's Fortune Mage, she's okay.
yep.
Right. And you have to invest into that Annie if you want to run Fortune, which we haven't seen so far. But we do actually see Chris get to that Annie 3. It is online. Like you said, the Annie against the world. Are we going to see some Master Yi cosplay from this Annie? Right now, we're seeing Goodnight Moon run pretty well. I mean, when you've got the Moon going into the back line and taking out your back line, but it's not going to be enough damage potentially
Uh,
here. Yes, that fourth shot is going to be enough, but 2 clutch shields makes that a little bit closer than it should be as we get into our completed item carousel here at 5-4. Another thing I'm noticing is players are living longer. Um, every single person has made it to this carousel.
yeah, it is a bit interesting. I guess I would agree with you. Players are on average dying a little bit later. Maybe because, oh, okay, actually, definitely because it takes more gold to go to level 8, and with level 8, you have more units on the board. So if you lose really hard, you're going to be taking more
Mhm.
damage. People are going to either level 8 slower. Or not at all sometimes with some of these reroll compositions, so less damage output that way. I think that's a main reason there. I'm not sure if there's any others offhand. We'll think about that though. That is interesting thought, kind of thought provoking question there.
Yeah, just like in terms of game time, there are people who I think like DuoQueueAbuser who suffer from longer game times,
Yeah.
right? But we shall see as the set kind of breathes a little bit more as we let it kind of become chosen Aatrox. Actually don't think
Ooh.
I've ever seen that as a chosen Elderwood Ash comes to the fray. This means that Souless will only need
This is
2 more ashes.
no,
I'm just
okay.
gonna sell the other one to get the
Yeah,
items
yeah,
on
yeah.
the chosen instead of trying to look for these other ashes. But was close to a tier 3 Ash. I think this was a very good move to get the increased stats. This tier 2 Ash is stronger than the last version that we saw him sell.
Yep. Chosen has a bit of increased stats there when you pick those up. But, if Solis had more HP, he could greed out maybe for the Ash 3, but with 11 HP, one hit to dying can't do that. Might even fall
Oh
regardless. Actually, I
no.
don't think he'll die here. Yeah, jumps to 2 HP. If there was one more unit left, he would have died there, but thankfully, does not fall there. Okay. Looking at this comp here, Solus. Ah, man, okay. Solus, he's finding his tier 2 brawlers right now, which is great. I think the positioning's a little wonky though, perhaps. Um, the Warwick, I don't think is going to be able to do as much as it might be unless it's, moved a little bit towards the back there. Of course, the Ashe is just the main key unit there, but she's not even in the corner, even with QSS, there's still that Sand Soldier there. I think Azir is a solid unit to just put in if you don't have anything else to put in, and so that's a great choice there. But Barrybadden or Solis, one of them may fall here.
Not only does the Sand Soldiers wreck the positioning of the other player, pretty hardcore. His ultimate, just the Sherma Shuffle, is also
Oh,
incredibly strong. As this is going to go into a set match, but I think once the set ults, it will be over for Solus as another eighth plays
oh,
for him. It's like, oh man,
she
it's a
wasn't
self
even weak
fulfilling
either.
it's a self-fulfilling prophecy for him at this
Yeah.
point, unfortunately. That's in terms of mental, right? That's one of the hardest for me to get out of is when I get into I am just meant for 6th place, right? Which I felt like at the beginning of the set is I just get 6th,
Yeah.
right? And I just got 6th so many more times. And that happens is I have not ever seen this in my games. I've been playing a lot of TFT. We've got a 3-item NPC
Okay.
round for our friend. What is this one called?
Nexus Minion, I believe it's literally called at the top there, like, it doesn't have a name, it's literally just called Nexus Minion. Uh, yeah, I've seen it a couple of times, not frequently, though. Wait, someone had 3 Zeeks. TreeBeard there with triple Zeeks. Oh, man, okay, where are these items going to go here for Barrybadden? A few AD items there, but the Ashe is already itemized. We might see Ashe Brawler go hold hands 7th, 8th right now, if Barrybadden does follow suit there with Solus, which we saw an Ashe comp win the last game, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
So that's a little bit of an interesting pivot, perhaps.
And that's the name of the game when it comes to this set. Yeah, we've actually gotten pretty vertical in terms of what we find at the top. Dusk, very, very popular. Ash, very, very popular. And those
Jingli,
do
Talon 3.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
Jingli does get Talon 3. He won't be popular in this lobby here in a second. You can kill Talon 3 by CCing him, though. So I wonder what items are going to be on that Talon. But really, in the end, outside of those two, it really is anyone's game. We've seen a lot of diversity. Goodnight Moon being a really good example of that. Double Jude Gauntlet Blue buff on this TF. Another good example of that, as Barrybadden does hold hands at the bottom of the leaderboard. DuoQueueAbuser will follow right after that. We're already in our top 5, and these are also, I believe, all of these people are in the top 6 in our leaderboards right now. So Jingly,
Yes.
TreeBeard. Oh, Chris is not, but everyone else is.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, Jingli hit Talon 3 somehow. How that happened, it beats
The
me,
meta has
but
changed.
still lost the last round. What did he lost to I think it was Chris. I think he hovered at the top, and I think it was Chris there. Chris on a win streak currently. What was Chris's composition again? Oh, it was the Mage reroll. Wow,
Yep.
interesting actually. A Mage reroll beat Talon. I mean, I guess the Talon doesn't have amazing items, not even good items, right? But even still, it's a Talon 3, right? You would expect it would be
Raw
solid either way.
stats. Yeah, the raw
Especially with
stats
Diana
should be
4
enough.
too. Yeah.
Stratqual, the only thing keeping this Talon safe. So after that first initial CC, we're going to see this Talon absolutely destroy this Vayne here in just a second. All right, there we go. 1,500 damage, 2,200 there.
Yeah.
But again, the Talon isn't, especially without a Bloodthirster, isn't going to keep himself alive.
True.
And again, this Talon 3 is struggling. Only one of two units left at the end there. Sphinx will fall in the end, but Talon 3 isn't like, you hit Master E3 and you're like, okay, I win. Right? With
Yeah.
the right items. And we don't have any of that. We don't have the right items. We don't have like the end game carry there as we see 4 keepers for Spencer. This is not a comp that we saw at the end game at all so far here today, as we only have the Jin chosen sharpshooter. Not only that's actually very good and very strong, especially for Jin, as that fourth shot, it will ricochet to someone close and maybe get a 2-hit kill on just that one shot.
Yeah, oh man. So Spencer's solo actually, and Jingli is as well. So someone will fall here. The Diana is gonna jump to the back line and go near to this Jin very, very soon. Have to deal with Diana 4 and Talon 3. And Talon 3 one shots the Jin, brings it into the GA state. Set's trying his best
Oh,
actually, and it looks
oh,
like Spencer will actually take out Jing Lee. Is the Talon 3 Diana 4 gonna go 5th place? Yeah, it is. Not even top
yep.
4 with it.
Good night, Moon. Good
Good
night.
night, Moon.
As I don't think I have, we will maybe never ever say these words in this order again. Jingli finishes in 5th place with a Talon 3 and a Diana 4. Think
Yeah,
about that.
safe to
That
say.
is how dynamic I think this game can be, and I think goes back to my previous point of how do you play Moonlight in the in the late game, right? It's everyone around that Moonlight because you have your 2, right? Especially if you're late game Moonlight, you probably have a chosen Moonlight, right? What's gonna bring you the other stuff? And it was supposed to be Talon there, but Talon can be very easily CC'd, and again, I think it's just another argument for QSS being a
Yep.
carry item as
Yep,
opposed to
yep.
a defensive one.
Was just gonna bring that up for the Diana. I think QSS maybe was needed there, or Gunblade, something a bit more defensive there as opposed to double jeweled gauntlet Titan's Resolve. Either way, though, we're gonna have 1 HP on Sphinx, 1 HP on Spencer, and 2 HP on Treebeard. Some very, very close lobbies here, and these placements like do matter for the course of this game, as we see Chris with the reroll mage go up against Spencer's.
Gargoyle Stoneplay Annie is never going to die. Let's see if we're going to see that 1v9. Hasn't even made it through the shield, as the Ahri is already ulting in the back line. And with this attack speed bonus, this Annie is going to ult even more frequently. Huge stuff coming in from this Annie. Good to see her on the field again. We probably won't ever see Fortune unless it gets buffed
Yeah.
insanely over the next like month or so. But in terms of Bkrisz right now, that 2 Spirit also helping quite a bit, especially for people like Janna, for people like TF. If you have more
Yeah.
attack speed, you're getting more value out of that Janna small AD buff. And it's not that big, but maybe that's the end. If there's a very close round at the end here, maybe it's because of the Janna shield. So
Yeah, potentially.
as we move forward, Sphinx will be the 1 HP winner as TreeBeard falls anyway. Chris versus Sphinx. Sphinx doing a very good job. Chris now was in 8th place, I believe, maybe even 7th place, and now is playing spoiler here at the top of the lobby. Will Sphinx be able to take down these mages, especially that Ahri in the back line? First things first, though, it's this Annie, and the Garen is doing what looks like negative damage on on the Annie right now as he's spinning to win. And look at how good Annie is as a tank, is completely taking all of the aggro from Azir, from Nidalee, from
Oh.
Garen, and still survived through it all as Chris wins this lobby.
All right, Chris wins the lobby with reroll mages there. The TF actually got taken out, halfway through the fight, but it didn't matter. The Ahri and the Annie still being alive is all you need. You talked about, just a moments before, Annie is literally an unkillable unit, and she very much was there. You
Yeah.
know, oh man, going up against Warlord reroll there from Sphinx. Talk about diversity of the comps there. these are two comps, the top two that we haven't seen like any at all tonight yet,
Mhm.
but they still performed very well. The Ash Brawler went 7th and 8th holding hands. Dusk Riven eliminated, soon after that. That's
That's
crazy as
crazy.
we check out the scores after game number 3.
Talon 3 getting
Our
5th,
Yeah, Talon 3 getting 5th
right?
as well. That's
Talon
actually so insane, Boop. Oh, man.
um
Sphinx, though. Sphinx, Mr. Consistent. The Warlord reroll actually proving to be effective there is going to give him a leg up on the rest of the competition. 22 points, currently in first. TreeBeard still being pretty consistent on his own here as well, only 1 point behind 21. But Spencer and Jing Lee very close behind, 19 and 18 points respectively there. There's only a 4-point gap between first and fourth here, Boop.
And in terms of third and everyone else, DuoQueueAbuser might be able to sneak in, but really, in terms of third place, if Barrybadden wants to continue his streak right now, Barrybadden is the longest member of Fight Night Rising so far. And if he wants to be able to sneak into third place, he's got to think about beating Spencer, Jingli, and Chris. Look at Chris giving us all hope.
Yeah.
Seventh place, and then a sixth place, and then now a first place. That's what you want to see. You want to see your results get better and better as time goes on, or you want to see what Sphinx is doing, which is consistency, right?
Yeah.
And I love hearing Sphinx and consistent in the same sentence in terms
Oh,
of
yeah.
what I know of that player. His mental can definitely take a hit if one game doesn't go his way. And right now, all the games have kind of been pretty friendly to Sphinx. The only person to top four, I believe, in all the lobbies so far. And I love seeing this growth continued from what I remember from Sphinx a year and a half ago when he was just a fledgling TFT player to now a legitimate pro TFT player making these amazing choices, has probably one of the better grasps of the late game of this particular set than most people in the country. Based off of where he is on the ladder in solo queue. So
Yeah.
there is a reason why we're seeing Sphinx in first place, and that's definitely one of them.
Man, Boop, we were on a very similar page there in terms of what we wanted to talk about, and that was, I want to talk about Sphinx too and the progression that that he's shown over the past like year and a half. And I think that while it seems like he could take a hit in the mental when it comes to a poor placement, I haven't seen that much from Sphinx recently. I think he's really come a long way, and he's able to go into it tonight, Fight Night Rising, this tournament, and pull out a second, and put himself in a really good spot to win overall. I think consistency is kind of shaping up to be Sphinx's game here, and I'm going to be excited to see what he brings out in game number 4 as we look at that here soon underway. But oh man, I'm just thinking about the set 4 in general right now, right? And
Mhm.
the comps we've seen win, those same comps go 8th in the next game. Other comps that I was like, okay, real Mage, it seems like it's fallen off. I don't really know how good it'll be, but Chris takes it, and I was like, "Oh, okay. He's spending a lot of econ here. I don't really think that's correct. Level 6, he has only 10 gold. He hit the TF3, but like, what's going on here? Hit the Any 3 and made it look easy actually at the end there. Like, it was insane. I don't know. I'm just
He
blown away
face
right
tanked
now.
3 different characters,
Yeah.
right? Just 8 3 ults from Garen, right? Like, no problem. Literally wasn't doing any damage. Gargoyle Stoveplate on Annie, such the item is very strong when you're able to build it. The components are the old Swordbreaker components, which I think is weird. Um, but the
True.
but the new item is like to go from like an offensive oriented item with the same components going into defense. I love this version of this item anyway. I think Gargoyle Stoneplate, I think tanks are probably in the best position they've ever been in terms of TFT, in terms of power level. Maybe Jinx Brawler got up there, but that was a long time ago. And so
Mhm.
now, if you're like a tank main, if you love playing your Volibears, if you love playing your Mordekaiser's top lane, right, you have a comp that you can play here and really live the fantasy of tankiness. Nunu can eat, right? And you can just feed Nunu throughout the entirety. And that's something that I really love about this new set. You've got auto attackers in Jin who can carry in Jinx. You've got, the tanks, you've got the melee carries. Literally, if you have any interest in League of Legends, you will find something in this set to kind of fall in love with. And that's amazing. If it's not just the art, look at some of these arenas, right?
Oh yeah. No, I love the new arenas. I love the new art. I can't praise enough how good of a job Riot has done with this set. Absolutely loving it. Also,
Mhm.
something else absolutely loving is catching Sphinx's perspective here. I want to see how the first place person does it here, going into game number 4. Is going to have a bow, a sword, and a belt on the bench. There is also going to get an affiliate for a thought in his mind if he wants to go that route. Probably not though, but we can see the power of Aphelios when paired correctly with the spirit composition and stuff.
One of the best feelings I think in TFT is when you're like you've got a plan. Not as a player, but as a viewer, is like you see a player has a plan and then something pops up like an item or a chosen, and all of a sudden you see on their face they're like,
Yeah.
oh, right? Like this isn't like I'm not going A plus B equals C right now, right? Like all of a sudden I've got a whole new variable to think about. And
Yeah.
how many players go the new direction versus the old direction. It's not even. It seems like most people stick to what they were trying to play, but I still love that like thought process of okay, I need to give this enough thought and give this enough value in order to really understand how I'm going to play this lobby, right? Because if I'm not going this way, I'm committing this way, and need to figure out this early if that's something that I want to do. And now that we've gotten to the PvP rounds, we're going to start seeing some players make intentional decisions like that, especially if they're playing Moonlight or Goodnight Moon, that
Yeah.
you got to kind of commit to that a little early.
Speaking of intentional decisions there, I'm trying to wrap my head around, I'm not like in a good or a bad way, but just like Sphinx chose to lock that last shop and is going to picked up the pair of Vi's there, sold the TF with the bow and the Aphelios, and is going to pick up the pair of Aphelioses here as well. So he actually does make that decision, recognizes he is not going to win this round by any means, so he is going to sell that Elise pair and pick up the Aphelios pair there. TreeBeard choosing to slam a death cap on that chosen Wukong just wants to win streak early, I suppose. We saw how powerful TreeBeard's comp was, and he, game number one when he won streak early, so he's going to be looking to do a very similar thing here. Sphinx, I am curious to see where that does go. We'll check back in with him later on to see if that Aphelios does get turned into a tier 3 and perhaps tier 4, or if it's just going to be a transitional unit there. But TreeBeard, chosen Vanguard Wukong, chose to put that in, slam the death cap, and he's pretty strong right now with 3 cultists.
How are you going to get out of this is my question, right? It's like we got that 3 cultists, we have 2 Vanguard with the divine Vanguard chosen Wukong. Another kind of thing that was listfully in the meta for a second was with that Rageblade Wukong build that I
Mhm.
think was like one of the first
The
things people
Bonky
found.
Kong.
Yeah, the Bonky Kong. And let's see if we actually see this from a tree, but it can still totally work. Just a lot of people have figured out how to play around something like that. But I mean,
Yeah.
hard CC in this game is incredibly valuable. And especially in the early game, when you're only CCing one person, though, in the late game, and that person's usually a tank, that's when things start falling off. But yeah, we're gonna see Galio like Treebeard's Twitch friend said, the best cheerleader. Now all I want is a cheerleader skinned Galio on the side, very much like Kerrigan for
Yeah.
in another MOBA. But Treebeard, well, really StarCraft, but anyway.
True,
Treebeard
true.
sitting at 100 HP does get to his 10 gold. Starts investing in himself or starts accruing money later than other players do. Very frequently because of that pre-level. And
Yep.
so he's actually going to end up buying some units here as well. He's not going to stick to that 10 gold, and we're going to put our
I
Callista in instead.
Yeah, he pre-leveled here actually to go level 5. I personally love pre-leveling here, even if it means dropping below 10 gold. I think the chance to roll a Riven or an Ashe or an Ahri at level 5 is just gonna put you tiers above everybody else in the game if you manage to hit that. So I really do like that decision here from Treebeard. It's also going to, if he hits that, be able to be a strong factor in keeping his win streak. I think he'll keep the win streak here. Um, I like the decision making for Cheeber in the early game.
I think and I think this is another really good opportunity to talk about one specific comp that I know a lot of people were excited to see in this set that we haven't seen at all, which is ninjas. So
True.
ninjas are something that if you can get online, I feel like you go ninjas when the world is kind of telling you to, right?
Yeah.
Like you get a pack and like there is a Zed, and you're like, okay, uh, I'll pick him up because Zed is we've seen tier 3 Zed a bunch of times already, and plus Shade's pretty good. And then all of a sudden you see an Akali and a Kennen in your next pack, and you're like, hmm, wait a second. And then you're just
Yeah.
waiting for Shen. But I think you sacrifice so much in the early game if you're unable to win streak early to just wait for your ninjas. And I don't think once you get your ninjas in, because you're usually doing ninja shade, the power spike is worth it. as
Yeah.
of right now. I don't know. What do you think?
No, agreed. And I wanted to actually, with you mentioning that, take a moment to talk about the role of the specific ninjas in set four and quickly going over each of the units. Zed, he's not going to excel most in a ninja comp. He's going to excel most in a spirit shade comp. He's just better there. So why are you going to build ninjas for him, right?
Mhm.
Akali, she can be okay if you have very specific items, but even still, people just do her job better. Units like Zed does her job better. What other is that? Like Talon will do the Akali job better. I think if you're going to go that route, if we look at Shen, or actually, yeah, if we look at Shen's the unit that is okay frontline, and he was played a lot during like PvE and the initial stages of set four, but it turns out his traits aren't even really that worth it unless you want to go for a mystic. Like Adept isn't really too much of a necessary synergy nowadays,
Mhm.
and he's a ninja, like that's cool and all, but again, we're not going ninjas. Kennen, he's more effective in like any keeper compositions as opposed to enabling ninjas. You might put him in when you're going, like for keeper, if you have like a chosen Riven or chosen Kennen Keeper or something. You could do it with Cultist as well, but the units are just not as effective when paired together. They're more effective with other synergies.
Because even when we say it's usually Ninja Shade, why spend all the time putting your ninjas together when you can just go X Shade, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
go
it's
Shade
even better. Like,
with cultists, or for
yeah,
example, right? And that's an easier transition. And Adept is a very hard thing to balance in a game like this. Think
yeah,
Frozen Fist from previous iterations of this game, where it ended up just being both sides just needed a Frozen Fist by the end of the game. And I think Adept could eventually go there if it's too strong, where Adept just becomes so strong that it's just assumed both players have an Adept trait by the end game to kind of even everything. And we're avoiding that by keeping Shen in this particular power level. But Mystic isn't strong enough, and I think that's where he might have found a little bit extra footing is on a tank Mystic, which is really really cool.
yeah.
But unfortunately, that's a little bit later. You're not really investing in Shen all that much. You can put him with a Janna with those shields and that taunt though, and that's fun to do, but not necessarily in the meta and something you do in a competitive environment like TreeBeard is in right now.
Yeah, Aphelios 3 with the Moonlight buff there from DuoQueueAbuser actually didn't even touch the Kalista there at the end. You would think Aphelios 3, that sounds pretty good. He's probably gonna win a round, but no.
Nope, needs
Cultist,
items.
yeah, needs items and Cultist pretty good. And speaking of Cultist, Treebeard, I think he's played Cultist opener past couple of games so far, past few games maybe even. Um yeah, besides for game number 1, he might have been game number 1, I don't remember either though, but 6 Cultist even before stage 3 is going to be really, really strong.
Let's actually, I would love to take a look at Spencer's board. We haven't spent a lot of time with Spencer, who is our returning champion
Yeah,
coming into today. Has found good success in the middle of the pack, and with TFT, that's actually quite good for you. I always consider TFT a little bit like tennis, where consistency is valued very high. You don't necessarily need to win a major to be the number one player.
yeah.
And so a TFT, I think, is moderately similar in that sense. We are going over to Spencer right now, who has 5 brawlers already with
Yeah.
with the Hunter Splash, just to give a little bit more damage to that Kindred. Giant Slayer Quicksilver. Sash could carry items. And we'll see if that Kindred is going to survive the mid game here with those items. As Spencer is going to be looking for that front line to give his back line enough time to push in that damage.
Yeah, so what about earlier, early chosens to take, I think Tom Kench was one of the ones I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'd rip that Tom Kench brawler pickup early," because it goes into, 6 and then 8 brawlers later if you want that route with the Ashe composition, which is a really strong one. I actually really like the Kindred item carrier here. I think Kindred is an undervalued unit when it comes to just like a damage dealing carry in the early game. Saw the power there, 3k damage. Only Kindred 1, but her spell, oh man, I don't remember how much baseline the spell does. I'll look it up here in a second, but Kindred 1 does like probably too much damage, I think actually. It's just so effective as a carry. So that we see, Spencer be on a 94 HP, be on a win streak, and rolls a Warwick even in the next shop there. Still is maintaining the 2 hunter because Warwick is a hunter as well as a brawler divine, but is going to be achieving 6 brawler now. And look at how tanky that Tom Kench is there in the front. Sir Thomas Kench.
Oh, do you remember during PBE with Sir Thomas, if you put Gargoyle on him and enough Aphelios turrets that they wouldn't do damage?
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
And so
Gargoyle Stunplate used to be 20 armor and MR before it eventually got nerfed down to what it is,
and
12 now,
yeah, and each
almost by half.
individual Aphelios turret contributed to the targeting of the Gargoyle
Yeah,
Stoneplate. So I'm glad we fixed that. But that was some funny stuff back in the early days of this set. But you can also put some items on TK. You can put he can look nice in a fashionable cape.
yeah,
If
fashionable
he wants
Sunfire
to.
cape.
Yeah, and
Agreed.
if he wants to wear that cape out on the town, you totally can, and then rip it away from him once you take him out of your comp if you want to.
Why not?
But there are some chosen mechanics that are more for like some chosens are really good for the champ, right? Like a chosen Yasuo, yes, a chosen duelist is really strong, but it makes Yasuo very, very strong. There are some chosens like with Brawler that I think you're really looking just to hit that 8 piece. As, as opposed to finding a chosen champion to bring you a victory a little bit later on.
Yeah. Nah, I agree there, and I actually did go look it up. Kindred-based spell damage is 450, and her mana pool is 35. So, think about how much damage that Kindred 1 is gonna be able to do, like, that's actually so insane in my
Yeah.
opinion.
There aren't a lot of
Um,
tier 1 units that are gonna survive that burst.
yeah, no, not many tier 1 units that do that amount of burst, either there. Spencer's does have a spat here as well. I wonder if he'll assuming that he's gonna keep up with the brawlers and go Ash, maybe it'll turn into an Elderwood spat later, I guess. The only thing that I can really think of.
Mhm. Usually when you see a spat, that's a safe bet
Yeah.
to assume that, or Dusk seems to be the more popular spat choices. And
Yeah,
again, with the right chosen, it could be literally anything if you have the right items. And that's the beauty of this set is you can push for 8 duelists, right? With the spat, with the chosen, and potentially win at that lobby, especially if that chosen is correct on that Yasuo or something. As we have a double Rabadons. Um,
yeah. I wanted to talk about that. Double Rabadons on Callista. I mean, so well, the way the Ren works on Callista is when she puts enough spears in the enemy to kill them, she'll then activate the Ren there and one shot the unit, and it scales based off of AP there. They'll deal magic damage. So maybe double death cap Callista just also has to throw like a few spears and then boom, Ren to reset. Um, I don't know though. Treebeard's at 96
oh,
AP win streaking, so that seems strong.
this is something that I am seeing off builds on auto attack characters in any game is just what really rustles my jimmies, man.
Oh no, not into it.
It's like if the designers wanted it to work this way, I feel like they would have been much more intentional about it. But the thing
Mhm.
about pro players is that their whole thing is about min maxing,
Yeah.
right? And so maybe this is just something like as a designer, I probably wouldn't have been like death cap on Cole. You know what I mean? And even
Yeah,
though
yeah,
they
no,
probably QA'd this like a bunch of times, right? Like they probably only QA'd Callista AP a total of what 10 times versus something like the
maybe not
chosen
even.
mechanic. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah,
these are the types of things that can surprise a lot of people. So we'll definitely be keeping track of that double death cap Callista. Um, to use 4 rods in that way is insane to me. But sometimes Treebeard can play that way, and that's part of the reason why he is so popular in this
yeah.
community.
Oh, definitely. He plays in unorthodox ways and makes it work out a lot of the time. We've seen him utilize that to success before, and
Mhm.
he's on a win streak, 5 wins right now. Of course, we may ask the question: is it really the double death cap Kindred, or is it the fact that he has 6 cultists, which is really what's carrying him right now? Maybe 6 cultists has a lot to do with it, of course, but either way, very specific intention and Treebeard's choices there, and it has to lead into something later on into the game. So again, I always say this, I feel like, but I'm curious to see where that ends up as because getting these players' perspective and insight when it comes to especially a new set is just so fascinating to me. Being able to, kind of break that down and understand where their mind is at in all these choices. Because it's a game, it's TFT, it's a game where you can make infinite different choices. And some can work out, some won't.
Totally true, and that's the beauty of what TFT offers. Um, uh, Double Death Cap Callista. I'm literally chomping at the bit to do this myself. Like, do you ever see something and you're like, I'm gonna do this literally immediately, right?
Yeah, I've felt the want to before, whether I do it or not, I'm just like, I want to do this, yes,
Yeah,
I totally get
exactly.
you.
Because if you can't make it work, I will. That's part of how I feel about it, but it's looking like maybe it's the cultist helping out TreeBeard a little bit more, but 96 HP at the top. He should stick there. Remember, this is the last lobby of the night. The points did spread out a little bit at the top side, but we're still competing for that third place spot. Top 3 get invited back to next week. Top 4 finish in the money. And we're going to be at Wolves now. And it's so funny how people are working. We're seeing doubled units more so than I think we've ever seen before. We saw 2 Yasuos earlier with Sphinx because that's what's strong. We're seeing 2 Maokais here because we've got 6 Brawlers already. So this is better than maybe potentially putting a damage-oriented character without adding that synergy, as these items are interesting right now for Spencer. We've got the cream of the crop. No one likes to repeat here in in Spencer's board. All different item components for him.
Yeah, I actually would have liked to see, assuming Spencer's isn't gonna roll down here. Okay, never mind. He rolls and finds an Ash instantly. My whole point is now just absolutely entirely irrelevant. But I was going to say I would like to see Spencer have picked up that Kindred from the last shop, because if he doesn't find an Ash, I think Kindred 2 is going to be a solid carry. But here we are, Spencer's pressed D literally one time and found an Ash, so pretty lucky there, I suppose, and does take out yeah, I think should take out the extra brawler there and put in 3 Hunter. From the PBE, 2 and 3 Hunter was buffed and 4 to 5 Hunter was nerfed, as we did see a lot of 4 to 5 Hunter before. And it scaled too well. And you don't even really need to focus on Hunter now, but it still is an extra good bit of damage there with the Ash carry.
The Callista uh, did not live for very long,
Nope,
but it
didn't
might
matter.
not. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. Still gonna try it. Still gonna
Yeah,
try it. Don't care. But let's start talking in terms of final placements now, because we've got someone at
sure.
25 HP. We're at 4-1. This is where I feel like we're right in the middle of the mid game.
Oh yeah.
We are seeing some transitions like in progress right now. We're seeing Sphinx, who is number 1, and this has happened to Sphinx a couple times where he'll start the last lobby in first place and then not win the lobby after the 4th lobby. So I would really, I think the last step in Sphinx's like growth here is to top 4 in that last lobby. I know he's already top 4 in 3 lobbies in a row, but if you want to be the best of the best, you have to be that kind of consistent, as passes on the sharpshooter chosen, which makes complete sense. As Sphinx running 4 brawlers on his board.
Man, I can't help but feel for Sphinx, as you're talking about the fact that, the last game is kind of the thing that he needs to surpass here, and it's not looking good for him right now. If you're at the spot that Sphinx is at, level 7, 43 HP towards the bottom of the lobby, still losing rounds, and you've rolled down to 10 gold, it's a bottom 4. Like, unless you roll like a chosen Ash in the next 1 or 2 turns, it's not looking good here. I think Sphinx's chances of winning for a fight night have gone drastically lower right now. You don't even have a Maokai 2. Like, oh man. Okay, hit the ad.
Oh,
All right. If anything's gonna save, if anything is gonna save Sphinx, it is that. But only has one complete item for the Ash right now. Slams
Mhm.
the cloak. You need QSS. Can't say it enough. QSS is necessary.
It's a carry item.
Yeah.
And Sphinx gonna put his brawlers in front of his hunters, and just gonna keep the Janna on the bench for now. Um, I wonder
Maybe. Oh,
why.
DuoQueueAbuser actually is going for Aphelios 3 and has Diana 3, needs one more Aphelios, but actually is on 0 gold and is still level 5, and we're on round 4 or 3 right now. Is actually going to lose to Sphinx there. Fortunately for Sphinx, was able to run into that matchup, because DuoQueueAbuser is not looking too hot there. I
Mm-mm.
mean, wasn't really in the running, I don't think, to get into the top 3. Maybe you can get a 4th though, but
Yeah.
yeah, was kinda trying that comp out, I guess, because we see the RFC on the Aphelios there, not gonna be a great item there.
Let's take a look at Jingli, because I believe Jingli was competing for a top 3 spot, and
Yeah.
we're already at 3 HP at 4-4. That's really low for this particular part of
Yeah.
the lobby, and it's not just him. DuoQueueAbuser also at 9. Like, again, to put it in perspective, 31 is low. Like, that's what I would
Yeah.
consider, like, the top end of low here. Um, uh, It's actually, I think, like, an okay HP to be at, at
Yeah,
4 for it. Like,
it's,
if
like,
you're
a little
losing
unlucky, but, like, okay,
yeah,
5 it's
exactly.
fine.
9 and 3, however, is rough. Both of those players have 1 round that they lose and they're out. So that means both of these players need to win every single round from here on out. As the reason why Jingli is on the bottom of the leaderboard, I think, is on purpose, maybe because we have a fortune chosen on the board right now. And now that we have actually an 8-game loss streak, this is how you do this, friends. You keep your chosen in. You go and lose until you don't want to anymore. Hopefully, as we're gonna tier 3 the Lissandra and then almost not get her in on time. Um, if he wins this,
Oh,
though,
no.
the amount of gold he's going to get will be massive. And all I care about really is that these players are having fun, and it looks like Jingli is enjoying himself right now. And we're not going to see the fortune dream. It would have been really cool to see exactly what money he was going to get, but it looks like Jingli is going to fall in 8th place really early, showing us exactly why fortune is not something that you should purposely be running in your solo queue games. Solo queue is fine, but in this competitive atmosphere, I'd probably advise against it.
I don't even know what to say about that last round we saw from Jingli, about that last board. I mean, you're playing Moonlight Comp, you're contested, you're going for simultaneously Silas 3, Aphelios 3, um, Diana 3, and List 3. You choose to sell because your bench space is full. You don't find the ones that you need. You have perfect item Aphelios, but he's not going to get to that tier 4 slot. You have chosen Fortune in to try to cash in on your win streak, but you're not able to win. It's just that's unfortunate to say the least from Jingli there, but he will go out in 8th place this game. Moving forward, though, moving on, TreeBeard, the sixth cultist, it is still doing work right now. It is on a 10 win streak. And those double death caps that we saw in Callista, they now go to a Riven. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that makes sense. I respect that.
Yeah, Kalissa maladed her hats over to Riven
Yeah.
to wear and keep safe, and double death cap is going to eliminate 1 HP for DuoQueueAbuser. So lucky that he is this low this early. And literally on the next round, he dies
Yeah.
if he loses. But because we're on this particular round on 4-7 and TreeBeard won with that number of units, DuoQueueAbuser gets to survive another day. Sphinx still in the same spot as Souless gets a tier 3 Nunu pretty quickly. In
Yeah.
terms of those brawlers, we don't really see the effect of tier 3 Nunu because it tends to happen really, really late. But we might get to see Souless feed his Nunu here. That
A little
sounds.
bit. You know,
I couldn't. I couldn't hold it. I couldn't hold it in.
I wasn't even thinking about it until you said that, but either way, though, I mean, tier 3 Nunu, solid unit. We saw one earlier on. It just like absolutely devoured a set when it came off. Running
Yeah,
giant
that's right.
ups there. Yeah, it was funny to look at though. But looking at again at Treebeard's composition, the Kane has been in for 3 rounds right now, and there is actually the chance for Treebeard to make that force of nature. And yeah, it is going to do that and play the Callista, it seems, for now. Might rather see a Aatrox in, but okay, Treebeard, what he could do here actually is go for 9 Cultist. If he finds a Zillion, has the Aatrox on the bench already, and we could see the first 9 Cultist of the night here, and I think it would be strong actually, especially with the Force of Nature, so you can put in an extra unit.
The Riven dies very early on, but oh my goodness, ult's just in time to survive through that Ezreal ult, but Ashe is just a little
Yeah.
too good as Treebeard's win streak finally comes to an end. Still has a lot of gold to work with. When you win that much that early, this part of the game opens up insanely for you.
Yeah.
But you can be paralyzed by choice, which we've actually seen Treebeard do. A while ago, back in some early Galaxy stuff.
Yeah.
But we'll see if that's going to be the case moving on, as DuoQueueAbuser did win another round at 1 HP, and Sphinx is going to be sitting at 3.
Yeah, Sphinx did not win another round. Sphinx has lost 2 rounds in a row now and is 3 HP. We could see our favorite, it would appear, going into game number 4. dropping pretty early and opening up a lot more players for room to take this game. Sphinx opting to position the Ashe in the back middle, has those Sand Soldiers in the front. But DuoQueueAbuser has achieved a Phelios 4 right now. Be it a little bit of a scuff build, I guess I might say. It's still going to be a strong unit, but maybe not strong enough for the Ashe.
Uh,
I don't know. Actually, it's close.
ah! Okay.
Oh,
Sorry for just, like,
no.
screaming for no reason. I got
That's like
really
internally.
I that
No,
is,
I
like,
feel
how I
you.
was feeling, just so everyone knows. Because I think, like you said, that's, like, what we think, like, in our heads. I
Yeah.
just vocalized it. Um, but, yeah, we do find man, Ashe is just so good, can make literally any unit look like tissue paper with the Giant Slayer. It has a static shiv, as well, so in terms of not perfect items, the QSS Giant Slayer, very good on the Ashe. The static shiv is just going to add a good amount of extra damage on top of that magic damage, and that seems to be all that they needed. As Real is now in for an extra Elderwood for good cause, but really, I think the story here is the chosen Sejuani going to be the choice for Sphinx. I think just hit himself at 3 HP, needed a chosen,
Yeah.
and got the Vanguard buff through it.
It's exactly what we were talking about earlier. Sometimes in this position, you're rolling for a chosen and you're like, I don't find the ones I need. So heck, you just gotta say at a certain point, I'm just gonna throw in that chosen Vanguard Sejuani in and try to call it a day. But it doesn't look like it's going to be quite strong enough as Sphinx is going to fall to Spencer there. There are multiple Ash Brawler players there, and Sphinx happened to be the weaker one as
Mhm.
he'll be out currently in this game. And probably somebody else who was in the lead, besides for Sphinx? It was TreeBeard had to
Yeah.
okay, so Sphinx had 22 points, TreeBeard had 21, Spencer had 19, and Jingli had 18, but Jingli did go 8th there.
Yeah, fast 8th there. So,
Yeah.
that means TreeBeard will finish ahead of Sphinx, based off of how things are looking right now. Needs to beat him by 2 spots, and it looks like that's most likely going to happen. Gotta give props to Chris, though, finished 6th and 7th in the first 2 lobbies, won our 3rd lobby, and is on fire, right
Mm.
now. Wondering if we're also running mages over there, but I also like to see Souless, who's running 8 brawlers. I don't think we've seen this particular 8 brawler setup just yet, with Nunu being our
Oh, yeah.
frontliner with that Dragon's Claw. It is going to be hard to get through. I mean, Nunu's probably going to kill up to 2 to 3 units with those ultimates, as the Nico's going to help that set get a little bit stronger as well. These are what I like to call beefy boys with Vi and Ash, I guess.
Yeah. No, super true though, and something interesting to note, Solus chose to Nico a Set there over Ash, and that's very telling of this comp. Set is just such a solid unit in general. He's a brawler, so he fits into this, and look at this. Boom! He's actually just gonna use that Jeweled Gauntlet, crit everything around him, is gonna go and do sit-ups, but the 8 brawler, all of the HP and the rest of this comp means that Set's gonna complete his sit-ups and come back and be able to do that true damage, and it's just gonna 2.3k crit on that Nidalee there. Nunu actually did the most damage there in that fight, did 9.5k, but man, 8 brawler set too is no joke.
Yeah, and I saw a 500 crit on the Hunter proc for Ash and was
Yeah.
alive at the end of the game. So you put a wall of meat in front of your carry. It's going to be pretty hard to get to that back line, especially if we are not seeing any assassins or shades so far, at least in this
Mhm.
lobby that I've seen. They might be coming up a little later. Shades seem to be kind of like a last minute addition, or something that it doesn't seem like a comp that people go into being like, "Oh, I'm going to run shade," because you do kind of
Yeah.
need that chosen shade to really run it to its full capabilities. But let's take a look at these standings. Pretty close right now. Overall, still anyone's game. Barrybadden at 33 HP on the bottom side. That's actually where you want to see yourself at this particular point in time. You have 1 or 2 rounds to work with. You can still get a couple pieces to your comp to come through. But when you're soulless, what are you really looking more for? As that set did a lot of damage, but not enough onto the back line there. But yeah, he did end up losing, and he's already level 8. He could get to level 9, but how do we get stronger if we're soulless?
How to get stronger? I mean, you find Ash too. That's kind of the only thing you're really looking for right now. There is an argument, so once you hit level 9, you can take out some of the brawlers that are less impact, like a Tom Kench 1 and a Vi 1 aren't really gonna be doing much. You can take those out for some Elderwoods and look to go 6 Elderwood, 6 Brawler. We saw that, I think, win the first lobby today, and we saw the power of it. Given the fact that it did have 2 Elderwood spats, so it was kind of high roll, I guess we can say, quote unquote. But still, the power is there. Frozen Heart going to be on this Nexus minion here, achieved by Souless. Um, so might just go on the set there in the front line. It could go on the Nunu as well. But like Souless is so far from level 9, and he doesn't have Ash 2, to whereas I think he has to just keep on rolling to find that Ash 2, and hopefully those other upgrades there as well between the Vi and the Tom Kench. Gonna do that. Okay, he
Oh,
does
finds
find
it.
it. That's huge. That's huge. So now I think he can't econ up. Like you're rolling for only the Vi and Tom Kench right now, which isn't going to be valuable at all, regardless of if it's likely to go to level 9. That is where the next power spike is going to lie. The real story, I think, here that I want to be aware, be have in mind is between TreeBeard and Spencer. They are both in the top 2 currently, and they're both so close in points coming into this. They're 2 points apart. They both have 1 win. So if actually Spencer is able to win and TreeBeard goes second, I think the tiebreaker would be won by Spencer there, and Spencer would win for Fight Night tonight. But basically whoever wins this lobby is going to win. If neither of them, then we'll see from there. But that is very, very close between the two of them.
Cat 3, though, jumping into the
Yeah.
back line of Spencer, but Ash doesn't have time for your kittens, my friends.
Oh,
As Set might actually be able to bring this up. It's a Set versus Set. Warlord Set on one side. The Set that ults second is usually the Set that wins, and that is what is going to ring true once more. Is that Set also going to get a little stronger because of that round victory?
yeah. Oh man. Okay, so the sets there, okay, Spencer's set ulted when a unit died, so it didn't actually get that AoE damage off after he landed, which resulted in actually the round loss there for Spencer. If that didn't
Yep.
happen, I think you would have won because the damage going through. A bit unfortunate there. Spencer, though, 35 HP. Not going to see anyone fall probably in the next round, but we do see a very interesting 9 Warlord comp. I think it's the first time we've seen 9 Warlord tonight. We saw a 6 earlier, though.
As
But
like
9
an
is just
early game
so
start.
strong. Yeah.
And so 9 Warlord, in terms of the buffs there, those units are exponentially stronger than their original forms. You know, they're bred in the heat of battle, right? They're born of violence and blood, and because of that, they get really strong. And it's the only way I think Warlords can make it into the late game is if you have that
Yeah.
9 piece.
Oh man, this fight kind of close, but is going to go the way of Spencer. Yeah, TreeBeard does fall there. TreeBeard actually rolled down pretty heavily on level 8. I thought he might go 9 there with the lead that he had, but did not choose to do that. Spencer is just going to look for a level 9 here. Actually, already right now, throws in the Lux. I like the Lux a lot. We talked about it earlier too. It gives Dazzler, it gives Divine, and Lux is just a good solid unit. I think a lot of people undervalue just in terms of her CC. She CC is like kind of
Mhm.
a multiple units on a board, if not like half of the enemy team sometimes. So good
Yeah,
choice there.
like I said, for some reason, this set seems to congregate in the middle of the board, in like a diagonal fashion. We'll see if it
Hmm.
happens here. And the Lux can literally snare every single person on the other team, and it's not about killing anyone for Lux. And you could definitely, if you want to, build some AP items on her, but that's not what she's there for. It's definitely to help Dazzler. Both of those units are going to be able to paint Dazzler on every single member of the team, as you see it right there. But I mean, have these warlords gotten so much more powerful that even the Dazzler is not really going to matter? It's going to be up to this Warwick to
Uh,
carry him through this round.
yeah,
And
Warwick and Set still being alive there is just too much for Warlords to handle.
too much for warlords to handle, like you said. Very interesting is that all 5 people, before Chris came out, were still alive from our last check-in, on our last carousel. So not a lot of movement outside of Chris moving over to 5th. That's actually very
Yeah.
good news for a lot of people, in terms of him playing spoiler. So unfortunately for Chris, I don't believe he makes it into the top 4, but did end up getting a lobby win with a mage comp that we have yet. That was the only time we saw it, was
Yeah.
when it won. Didn't see it in this one, and part of me is like, well, obviously no one's playing it, and I literally just won a lobby with it, so I might have ran it back if it were me.
The thing is, you really gotta find the chosen, I think, to make that
Yeah,
comp
that's
work
true.
out, and if you it's kinda you can't force things in this set that Okay, you can't force things in set 4 that require such specific circumstances like that chosen mage TF. You're not going to find that every single game, and if you don't, it's not going to go nearly as well as it did for Chris in the game that he won, which it's creates such an interesting dynamic in this set as a whole there. Like you might be like, yeah, I want to run it back, run that comp, but you might not be able to quite as effectively, and that might be the difference between, winning a game and going, bot 4 sometimes.
Gonna hold on to the trap claw until the round starts. A lot of times when it comes to items, you want to wait until the round starts so you can find its best value. Shroud of Stillness is definitely the item
Yep.
that comes to mind there. Holderwood Warwick is so strong. That's why he is so big onto the field. But that's the first test. Once you get through that Warwick, everything becomes a little bit easier. But this set, though, is able to get that ult off, and the Ashe is going to follow up with that last bit of damage. And that's the thing about this particular comp. It's when one carry falls, there's another backup. And in terms
Yep.
of team comps, this is definitely the most like safety net oriented comp that I think we've got so far. It's strong in a lot of different ways. Hey, set dies. Well, your Nunu's probably going to take down one or two people. Your set dies or your Warwick dies, where your Ashe is going to be able to, punch through a lot of people with set. And so it's not like the end of the world when your carry dies there. As we still see our double Rabadons, our double hatted Riven, as TreeBeard has gotten to 1 HP all of a sudden.
Yeah, TreeBeard taking a lot of damage there. Maybe rolled down again too much at the level 8 mark. Is not going to achieve level 9 this game. Does have a lot of units in here, though, has not gotten 9 cultists. The good Zephyr onto the set 2 there for SpencerZ is this round. I mean, the Riven's trying to do all that she can, but the Ashe is still alive here.
The Ashe is still alive, but they've finally gotten
Oh,
to the Ashe. The Dazzler is not going to be taking down, I think, them enough. But the set ultimate into the back line. The set 2 comes right back with that Titan's Resolve, though, and will take down Spencer. And that is, I think, matchup specific there as Souless
yeah.
falls in third place. So this is a race for first. Treebeard versus Spencer. Doesn't get any badder than this. I'm sorry. Sometimes you just got to go for it, and then apologize later if you need to. Barrybadden at sitting at 6 HP might be the reason why Treebeard or Spencer does not win Fight Night today.
Yeah, Treebeard on 1 HP, that was such an important win for him. It means that his chances of winning this game are still alive because I believe if Treebeard had fallen there, then it would have been a Spencer victory here for tonight. But Treebeard is 1 away from Aatrox 3. That's a powerful unit there. Has okay, a set. One more roll to find it. Does
So
not find it.
also, our
Yeah.
wonderful mathematicians behind our ears have just notified us that if Barrybadden wins this lobby, he will finish in the top 3 and continue his streak. That would be 5 weeks in a row for
Yeah.
Barrybadden, and honestly, one of the more impressive results for a player that was a monocomp player in that last
Mhm.
set. Treebeard now 1 HP and a dream is going up against the Dust comp of Spencer, was able to take down this comp a little earlier and seems to be having a little bit of trouble this time around. That double Rabadon's Riven though is going to fall pretty early.
Oh, actually, the
Oh,
GA?
actually, the
Yeah.
GA. Huge stuff, man. That
Oh
is
my god.
putting on the rally cap if I've ever seen it. Barrybadden wins.
Oh!
Spencer loses. And so now Spencer's has been eliminated. Barrybadden is now working for a top 3. I
Wait.
believe was that a set chosen that he passed?
Was it?
I thought I saw. No, it
No,
wasn't.
you
It
already
could have
here
been
he has he
impossible.
already has
There
it
was like a
chosen.
little. It's his little Barry Badden thing on the bottom right
Yeah, yeah.
that baited me. But what were you saying,
So,
Crowan?
Spencer's lost to exact lethal there the last round to Barrybadden, and that means that Spencer no longer can win, and I think that solidifies Treebeard as the winner, but Barrybadden is still fighting for a top 3 spot, so this is still an important round here, as this is going to be the last round of the first TFT
Mhm.
Fates Fight Night.
This is it, everybody. All 4 lobbies. for Barrybadden will come down to this. If he wins this round, he will come back next week, but it's looking pretty rough for him so far. This might end up being a Riven versus Riven battle at the end of the round. Set, though, is going to be in that back line. Finally does get that ultimate off. There still sure is a lot of green on the field still. We still have both Rivens, but it's going to be this 4 against 1. Those shields need to be absolutely insane for this Riven. The Zilean definitely going to be helping out the cause as well, but no one can take down this Riven. One final wind slash will at least proc the GA, but with Thresh, oh my goodness, does pop the Riven in at the end. Barrybadden sneaks in to the top 3 in exhilarating fashion, thanks to a nice little auto attack from either that Thresh and that Zilean. That Riven versus Riven battle was absolutely insane. A little bit of defense does go a long way, and Barrybadden finds himself in the top 3. Whew! Exhilarating stuff there, Khroen.
Man, oh man, I can't even get hyped with that fight there. Just like such little things that happened in that fight. The Riven v Riven, but there was the supporting cast, the Zilean, the Thresh alive there that actually ended up cleaning up the enemy Riven. You don't see that basically ever when Riven's left alone versus, little supporting units like that. They don't usually win that, but that was crazy. And Barrybadden sneaks into the top 3 with that. And we see the rest of our.
Oh no,
Oh, no
was
way.
1 point away.
Were
1
we?
point away. 1 point away.
All right,
NA math, my
production,
friends.
production,
All of
give us
that excitement, all of everything, we'll keep that, right? Because that was still really, really good.
into the top 4.
Barrybadden misses it by 1 point. That's funny. Sphinx, not that he missed it, what we did. Sphinx, 25 points. Spencer, 26 points. And TreeBeard, who we will be getting for an interview here in just a second, had one, iffy round as a 5th place, but top 4 every other way. But this is our final standing. Barrybadden, that feels rough, but I love to see
Yeah.
him win and get a second in the lobby. Needs to be a little bit more consistent. Like, if you look at his score line, that is the definition of living on the poles. You're hot or you're cold. You burned bright on both ends. I don't know what more I could say about Barrybadden, but I'm a fan. Really, definitely all of these people here in our Fight Night Rising announcements, all of their Twitters and their streams, I'm sure, are going to be in their Twitters too. Definitely support them. But I think the name of the game right now is TreeBeard taking down that W.
Oh yeah, no, TreeBeard played phenomenally all night, had a really strong start in game number 1, and it was looking really close there at the end. I mean, like the competition here is actually just so close, Just looking at the scoreline at the end, it was nuts. But I think we'll be having an interview here soon with TreeBeard, and we've had one before. With TreeBeard, and I personally really enjoyed that one. Getting his perspective, insight there, and be curious to see his in set number 4. I think we have TreeBeard on the line. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats on winning TFT Fight Night Rising for the first set for Fates. Now, we've had a week on this new set. There's been a lot of meta shifting and changes and stuff, and it's, I personally have been enjoying it a lot. I'm sure a lot of people have. TreeBeard, just what are your initial impressions of the first week playing on this new set?
Cultist and Riven and Dusk is OP. Same with Set. Just same stuff that I ran all 4 games.
Fair.
So a lot of people outside, I think, of the competitive atmosphere say, anything could win with the right chosen. You can make anything happen with the right items. But hearing you, it's like, I went with what's good, and that's what brought me the victory. Do you still think there is that kind of fluidity and flexibility in the meta for some of these off meta comps to pick off some victories, or are we living in a sense of these are the best metas, play these if you want to climb right now?
I think anything can win if you hit it. Like if you 3-star 4-cost units, you can win the game and whatnot. This game I just happened to get like early cultist openers, and that allows you to econ super hard. So then getting the late game was a lot easier. But if I got like different chosens or whatnot, like the first game I ran an Ahri chosen just because I got Ahri chosen with the GA, which is also super strong. But it's more of like you have to like get a good. You have to like high roll other stuff that isn't super meta to win with it.
What do you think is one of the better things in terms of this set, in terms of like nuance on a professional level that you appreciate that maybe we haven't really seen in previous sets of a TFT?
I think the biggest thing in step 4 is flexibility with the chosen. Like a lot of times you'll hit a chosen and you might not want it, but you'll kind of consider it. You're like, well, can I fit this into my comp, or is it worth to wait for something
We
better?
literally talked about
Yeah.
that earlier. That's funny.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
you hit like a early chosen, you're just like, well, I'm gonna use this early chosen to get to level 7 to get a 4 cost chosen.
Okay. That's just that's what we have to do. It's like those moments where you hit a fork in the road, right? You get to choose a path, but you don't really see what's at the end of those paths. Khroen, you got anything else?
Yeah, actually, because TreeBeard seems to be favoring, you seem to be favoring the cultist opener allows you to econ and do all that stuff. But a couple of times in these games, especially game number 2, where you did go bottom 4 there, kind of like what happened during that game? Then curious to hear your perspective because I think you had cultists and were rolling pretty aggressively at level 7. But yeah, kind of like how did that game go for you? What was your plan? To try to top 4 that one.
Oh, so the second game after
Yeah.
Wolves, my items just sucked, and I was like, all right, we're just gonna play super aggressive and try and use my HP to like get fourth.
Okay.
So I just kind of like all in super early and played like stupidly aggressive just to try and get as high as I could because I knew I wasn't gonna win that game.
Cool. Well, the other thing I kind of want to ask, this is a new set, of course, and we've got a lot of newer viewers here who are still kind of struggling with some of the things with the set. So, in terms of approaching this set as a player, what do you think we should do to kind of really engage with it like in the best possible way? Like take your professional brain and teach me like what the best way to learn this set kind of is. How should I approach it?
I think this set's all about flexibility with like the chosen mechanic. So don't get too stuck into I need these specific like 6, 7, or 8 champions and try and like work around that a little bit. Like if you get a good chosen but it doesn't work with your team, maybe you can fit it in and end up with like not like a 6 piece. Instead of going like 6 cultists, maybe you're 3 cultists. Instead of like 4 dusk, maybe you're 2 dusk. And then you have a little bit of flexibility with like what you're doing there.
Cool, cool.
Yeah, no, some great insight there, Treebeard. Once again, congratulations on taking this fight night victory. I think you're a two-time winner now, and you'll be seeing you next week. So gonna maybe look to make that 3 times. But either way, thank you for coming. Congrats on your win. I want to give you a moment to any shout outs or shout out your Twitch channel, social medias, things like that.
Shout out to Twitch chat, the people making it happen. And obviously you guys with Giant Slayer production, all that sort of fun stuff.
Cool.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Congrats again,
Appreciate
and
it.
have a good
All
night.
right, thank you. Yeah, peace
Congratulations.
out.
All
First
right.
ever, first ever set 4 winner for Fight Night Rising, Treebeard.
That's
Sounds good,
hype.
doesn't it? Yeah.
It does, it does. Shaver, very, very good player. Showed his stuff here tonight. It's interesting. He was just like, nope, these things are OP. They're strong, and that's why I ran them. Because I think another player might have gotten a completely different answer. But that's what I love about set 4. There's so many different approaches
That's so
that you can
true. I
have
didn't even think
in
about that.
the game.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, it's just really who you ask,
definitely.
right? Like I ask you, I ask Treebeard, and you ask me. We might all come up with a different answer. That's so insightful. That's why I like you, Khroen. As always, was an absolute pleasure being here with you today, casting over set 4. We were so excited. There's so much more I think we
I
can
know.
still talk about in terms of just the amazingness of this set and what that means on a competitive level. And we'll be sure to build a lot more of that coming into these next weeks. But I think today was a really great appreciation for what Riot and Mort and the rest of the team did to bring us an amazing version of this game. And I love it. Everyone seems to really like the chosen mechanic and just through and through, chef's kiss for me. And I'm so excited to cast literal months of this in the
Yeah.
future.
Oh, definitely. I agree with everything that you just said wholeheartedly, Boop. It's been a pleasure to cast along with you. I am looking forward to next week, but oh man, a whole week to wait for more TFT Fight Night Rising action. We'll be signing off here though. But until next time, take care, much love, and we will see you here next week.